Come on. There we go.
Hey, oh, there it is. Yep, we're live, baby.
How's it going, everybody? It's your Emperor JohnKill3D, and this is Dylan at Blurry Films. I came across his video when it comes, everyone knows me, how I have a thing against the fandom menace. And out of all the videos I've ever seen people discussing the fandom menace, even me, I know that I let, when you keep tipping against something I like Star Wars, of course you're going to get me emotionally crazed out. But at least I give you the credit where you said everything I would want to say, but you keep your cool because I get it. People like Jeremy, Neurotic, it's like you can't discuss anything with them because something about them just instantly gets you infuriated. It's like nothing gets into their head when it comes to that they don't realize that they're wrong. Oh, your background. I can hear myself in the background.
Yeah.
Nothing gets into their head when it comes because I think it's coming through to the stream. Yeah.
I think it says I might need headphones for this, and I don't think I have them.
You could actually, I think you could if you have YouTube separate, you could mute the YouTube and still let it play.
Oh,
yeah.
How's that?
There we go. Yeah, I don't
there we go. See, I'm a dunderhead.
That's not good.
Man, I apologize.
That's all right.
I totally forgot I had it set up on the other thing.
Yeah. See, because if I don't get it, if I'm still learning, I'm not going to get on anyone's ass about it.
So I apologize. You were making a point, but because of all the double speak, my brain was just sort of like,
oh, it's fine. It's fine. What I was saying is like, you're like, when I came across the video, RG, or not now, Retro, I cannot have you come to, there you go. It's just another person of mine that follows me, but I told him it was going to be a 2-person Star Wars related thing. What I was saying is, the fandom, who would you, in your opinion, that you count as, like, say, like the key speaking points to the fandom, like the people that are just always on board? It's like you don't let Star Wars breathe.
I would say those are people like Doomcock, Geeks and Gamers. I have trouble remembering some of them because I don't give those channels attention. Like usually the only time I refer to them is when I come across clips like through TikTok or other sort of things, like other little clip channels that show who they're talking about, like show the person having the criticisms or whatever. Right. And I use those because I don't like going to their channels and I don't like giving them views because it just helps fuel their
that's true. It does, but sometimes when I gotta figure something out, I have to sit through it. Like if one of my other buddies was here, he would tell you every time he sits through one of that Star Wars Girls videos, I tell him this. I'm like, look, you can be attractive, but there's no brain in there to support it.
Yeah. There's a couple others. I can't remember. It's something. His title is something Outpost, and
RK Outpost.
RK Outpost, that's exactly it. And there was a little, apparently some controversy, like a little issue with like a little infighting in the fandom menace where that guy completely came out against Doomcock, and then there was this whole big drama revolving around them where they were just eating each other because Doomcock got all butthurt about the guy saying, his fans were retarded. Sorry if that's, not acceptable.
Oh, no, here's the thing. Here's the thing about my channel. Everybody can say what they want here. We don't want people to feel if we're not going to limit ourselves, we're not going to let people limit themselves.
Well, for the viewers, if you're upset by the word, I don't intend to say things like that's like me personally. Like I don't want to say things that of course. But I'm quoting someone. In this situation, he called his fans that. And Doomcock got all upset about it, and even Geeks and Gamers came out of the woodworks to be like, "Dude, Doomcock, chill the f out. You're being a baby about this." So there's all that infighting, and then there's like a couple of like lady Star Wars YouTubers. I couldn't tell you what their names were. I think Turf Nation did a video on them. At least one of them, and she was just. Yeah, and she was just losing her mind.
Mecha Random 42. Mecha Random 42.
Yeah, you are on it, son.
When I tell you, like, that's the thing. I used to have, like, I never had the, because over the past year or two, I changed more of my direction towards what I liked the most, which was Star Wars. So I used to just be a regular gaming channel, but then I picked up, even though yes, it was controversial, I stuck with the game even through its redemption arc, and that was Battlefront 2. And the crazy part was people who didn't like me would stream snipe me. They would get into the game to try to take me down. But the shit was, they couldn't do it. There's footage of me. Let's say, I'm going to give you a good example. If they're coming after me, imagine that hallway scene with Darth Vader. That's the result that they dealing with me.
That's awesome.
And that's
it's a good bit of karma right there.
It is it's big ass karma because they're like, you know, we're gonna show him because they try to quote unquote say, oh, if he's a prequels baby and not an original trilogy baby, he shouldn't have a big. I'm like, yeah, well, this technically prequel era baby when I was in school, and the Legends continuity was the big continuity. Every time they had a book in the library at my school, I'm taking it. I'm just sitting there. I'm taking it. My mom's like, this boy doesn't like to read yet. I'm like, Mom, it's Star Wars. Of course I'm gonna read it. I was like, look at this page right here. This is the page on how to cheat death. The Jedi were stupid. Blah, blah, blah. I would sit there and she would listen to me break down the philosophy of both the Jedi and the Sith. And she's like, this. Even my uncle, who's now, he was around. Like, he was a teenager when the first one came out. Him and my mom were both 17 and 19 when they went to go see the first Star Wars. And even my uncle was like, I got to give it to him. He beats me. I surrender. He is the, like, you know, and then my audience, as they watched me play Star Wars, they were like, you have a very imperial, like, the way I would do it, like, if I had my own Star Wars faction, it would be a mix between the Empire of the modern era and the ancient Sith Empire, but take out the BS that causes the infighting and the structure of falling apart.
Yeah.
Like the, what was it? You ever played you ever played the Old Republic MMO?
I think briefly because when that game was out, I was really young and I had to fight 5 other siblings for the remote. So, you know, usually I just sort of kept to myself and I played with my Star Wars action figures, and that was mostly.
With me, it was always the video games, and unfortunately, because right now due to some body problems, I can't move like I used to. Me and my friends would always imitate prequel fighting movements. And that's another thing I was extremely good at, because if I could take on two people at the same time, my mom used to just watch. She would be like, this is sad. How is he good at something that's fictional? I was like, come on, I'm not even breaking a sweat.
I had a similar experience with LARPing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's one way of doing it.
And definitely prequel fights.
I mean, we can't do it as humans. We can't do it like prequel fight. We can't do it as humans per se. Mm-hmm. The best way we could do it is if we could compare the final battle to the Obi-Wan show, like his fight between him and Vader, how that was a cross between prequel movement and OT movement. That's as best as you could put it, because in the prequels, they even stated they're using the Force to augment their speed and their strength, so they're moving at like a blur speed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because the Force gives you superhuman abilities, and it makes you faster, stronger. It's
durable. You're more durable to a degree.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's actually another thing that I noticed with people. They're talking about this is one complaint that I'm pretty sure you would understand, but it's not as bad because it actually has 2 in-universe explanations, and that's how they represent the lightsabers. You know how they haven't been doing the whole slicing people apart type thing. It's only saved for pivotal moments when they slice off a limb. So when I looked at the fight with Darth Vader, people were saying, he should have been sliced in half. That's a plot hole. I was like, but you forgot Asajj Ventress gave Anakin his scars on his face. So by that logic, Anakin should be dead at this point. Vader shouldn't even be here.
Oh, and I've seen a dozen videos. Oh, not a dozen, but I've seen videos of people being like, "Oh, Disney doesn't know how lightsabers work," and they talk about, you know, exactly like what you just brought up. You know, getting nicks and scratches isn't a thing. Like a lightsaber will have cleaved you in half. And it's like, what the hell did Dooku do to Obi-Wan in their first studio fight? Before Anakin fought him by himself and got his arm chopped off. Like
he nicked him with the tip of the lightsaber. Yeah, because you notice how the OT lightsabers and the original, like not the original, but the prequel sabers, they have 2 different. And there's actually, because I have the book next to me that explains how the lightsabers also work. The lightsabers they carry a permanent feature. This is a setting that they give to younglings. Like, you remember that room when Obi-Wan went into like Yoda was like, younglings, we need to find Master Obi-Wan's lost planet.
Yeah.
So those lightsabers right there, they are set to what is called lower phase mode. So that means, let's say if they had an accident, it would burn them at best. It wouldn't slice the arm off. And I'm pretty sure, knowing Obi-Wan, he did hit Vader, but Vader has Durasteel armor. So yeah, he wouldn't be sliced, but he would feel the pain, and he would definitely get a gash on his back. And when you look closely enough, it confirms that Obi-Wan gave him that gash that we see on his head when Luke takes his helmet off. So I always thought it was a burn injury, but it wasn't. That's a cut.
There's also that scene when Luke fights Vader for the first time, and he gets a full straight-on chop on his shoulder. And the armor tanks it.
Because he's made, because what the lightsaber, not the lightsaber, but what his armor is composed of is the very material that is made in a lightsaber hilt. Well, lightsaber hilt has different, materials, but Vader uses something called Durasteel, and he used Durasteel back in the prequels when he had his Clone Wars armor. There was Durasteel in that, because Durasteel is behind Beskar. Beskar can't be penetrated. The Durasteel, you would have to really hit hard to make it penetrate. Like, you would have to be a really, like, someone like Grievous. I think Grievous, with his strength, if he hit somebody wearing Durasteel, he would still slice through them, because that's tons of weight coming down with each hit.
Well, I think that's a lot like Vader in a lot of ways, because once, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Vader, when he got his prosthetic limbs, and his new suit, it made him physically stronger than your average
because it's
person, because that's what made him so deadly in fights, and why his lightsaber form changed. It's not just because his armor's a little bit clunkier, it's because literally he has the same power with one hand as he used to have in two.
And he also,
and that's why he can fight with one hand.
What's funny is Palpatine, there was actually, I don't know how much you focused on if you went through the canon Vader comics, which is one of the very things the Phantom Menace can't deny, that the canon Vader comics has made Vader even more of the greatest villain compared to the old Legends continuity, because he was more of an obedient dog in the Legends, because I used to be a fan, I could tell you. Vader was more of an obedient dog than anything. Here, Vader is like, look, I'm serving you, but I got my own shit. Don't test me.
That's something I was meaning to ask you earlier. What is your opinion about Disney? Let's just say it's decanonizing the Legends.
The thing about Legends, the thing about, like, when Disney did that, I was bothered, yes, but when I look back and understand why, there is a lot of every news story. What a lot of people don't understand, a lot of the EU stories it's almost every story is something cataclysmic that can destroy the galaxy. And I can tell that would get old. It's like, okay, what's the next cataclysmic event? And then after that, what's the next cataclysmic? At least with the trilogies, it's war related. And the only thing that's cataclysmic is, say, the Death Star, or because I know a lot of people don't like Episode 9, but I would say Palpatine made a smart call. Why would I build a third battle station that's going to blow up? Let me just give every Star Destroyer a Death Star killing laser.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's. I liked how the technology progressed, because they went from building it to be like a moon-sized battle station to something that's a planet size, and then they were able to shrink it down to something that could fit on a Star Destroyer.
Cannon, and the Star Destroyers are technically faster. They can jump to hyperspace a lot quicker. And you'd be able to get to the planet. And mind you, let's say if Palpatine, like I would say, what if scenario? What if they did fail? Palpatine could send every ship out there right now and simultaneously clock every planet at the same time.
Yeah, it doesn't need to have a big giant battle station like slowly moving into position from place to place to place. He can basically subdue the entire galaxy by having a planet-destroying spaceship in orbit of every planet. Which, that's villainy 101, I would say.
And I know people are very, like, what I view? I view the sequels are being treated like the prequels before the internet was a high effect.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I said this once on one stream, and this guy in the comments, he got so pissed off because I said, look, as a fan, I'll tell you one thing. Even I'm going to say this about Beloved Empire. I always thought Star Wars, as I got older, I was like, Star Wars is very mediocre. It's not, you treat it like it's Lord of the Rings. That's how they treat it. Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are complete, like Lord of the Rings, that, like, for example, you can't compare that to Star Wars because Lord of the Rings has a completely different, it's like no matter who you are, that will hit you more on an emotional level. Where Star Wars, it hits you correctly with the emotions through its characters and not what's around them, where Middle Earth, it's everything around you could affect anything.
I think that's a fair point. And I mean, just the way Lord of the Rings is structured, I mean, it goes into such an absurd amount of detail. Even in just the movies alone. I mean, especially if you add on to the expanded editions, which are just
and those, by my understanding, are still not even 20% close to what has gone on. So I was like, really, it's that much?
And that's like, in even that amount is still leagues past what Star Wars is able to do, because they try and focus more on the fun action and the characters rather than the world around them.
Yeah, because it's like the galaxy is huge. It's like you don't expect every movie to also show you every single planet, because then where would they, if we go somewhere new, like in the video games, like when we went to Jedi Fallen Order, which I played that game for 2 weeks till I 100% it. My friends couldn't even get me off.
Can you hold on just 1 second? I'm getting called real quick. 1 second.
No, you're all good. I hope everyone here is enjoying this. Let me share this stream around into other locations while I wait for good old Blurry there. Let me put this on Snapchat.
Sorry about that.
That's all good.
Just got some medicine for my cat. She needs flea medicine. So,
oh Lord, I know what it's like to have that from Panda Dog. But the story, it's like when I went back, and I also said, because I compared Empire to Last. I know a lot of people compared Empire to Last Jedi, but I even posed. One of my friends, he posed the question, and I've reiterated this point, and it makes sense. He's like, "What was the plot of Empire Strikes Back? What was really Empire Strikes Back down to its core?"
If you're asking me, I would say,
like what do you like? Where do you stand? Like, what do you think the story is? Because when he said this and he explained it, it actually blew my freaking perspective on Empire. Because I'm like, then, holy crap, they really are harsh on The Last Jedi.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say, it's when it comes to Star Wars, it's never just like one thing. It's like a bunch of different things. And for Empire, I would say a primary feature of it is the importance of showing failure and showing like these characters, they can lose. Like if the story was just start to finish like the way it was in the first film and the last film, where it's like the good guys, they're just
the bad guys,
and everything goes great. It's like Star Wars wouldn't be that big of a deal to anyone. But in this movie, it's like Han gets captured. Everyone's separated. Luke fights Vader, and he loses abysmally and gets the crap kicked out of him. And everything's in tatters by the end of it, and it's sort of like.
But the core, like if you notice one detail, which I'm pointing out, a lot of people don't realize its main core detail also, like it's underlying tone. It's a chase movie at the end of the day.
Yeah, because Vader's going around the galaxy trying to hunt Vader. Or hunt,
it's a chase, and it's a chase movie. And when I went back and watched Last Jedi, I was like, wow, Last Jedi only draws maybe some, not everything. They draw maybe only three key components, which is the chase, the whole planet crate issue, like when they were there, when they had this, like Hoth. But I mean, if you're gonna homage, like I noticed what Star Wars was doing. And a lot of people leave this out, but then when I bring this up, it does make sense. When you have a story like that, like a generational story, let's say you have the prequels, which is that generation. You have the originals, and I'm talking about in the in-universe. We had the Republic era, we have the Empire era, and we have the Resistance era. And what it is every generation does handle things differently. And the way it was handled more so, especially if you read the books, there was no way that there would be an effective military against the First Order, because even in the legends, the Republic was trying to demilitarize everything. So you would expect someone like, and a lot of people who complain about what Palpatine did in the sequel really don't know Palpatine. He always has a backup plan of a backup plan of a backup plan. He's the original. I don't know if you ever played Kingdom Hearts, but he's the original Xemnas.
You know, my cousin played a lot of that, and I watched him play it, but I never. That's a PlayStation restricted game, right?
No, it's available everywhere now. The whole series. Really? You can do like whatever system you have now. You could get. It's called the All-in-One Collection. It has all of them, I think, except for the third game. But the third game is easy to obtain. I'd recommend for you if you want to play a Kingdom Hearts themed. It's Star Wars hasn't been put in there yet. I assume Star Wars is going to be put as a world in Kingdom Hearts 4. But if you play Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, that game is Revenge of the Sith with Disney. That's Disney's Revenge of the Sith. Because guess what? Mark Hamill is in that game, and he voices an Obi-Wan type character.
Oh,
so that's what I'm saying. If you play that one, you'll get the Revenge of the Sith vibes, and the character Terra is basically Anakin Skywalker.
Well, you had me at Star Wars just in general, but
it's not in there yet though.
Of a lightsaber keyblade
which it would, yeah. There's like none of the games have included Star Wars yet, but there's a very lot of story beats that they drew from Star Wars. They said Star Wars will most likely be in Kingdom Hearts 4 because they saw like a forest where you will be in, and they saw a print on the ground which looks like an AT-AT print, and I was like, oh shit, let that please. Cool. I want to see. And then Kingdom Hearts 2, the final boss whips out 2 lightsabers from his wrists. They're not lightsabers. They're not lightsabers, but they're basically lightsabers. It's 2 beams right out of his hands that he fights you with. Yeah, like he doesn't even create no hilts or nothing. 2 beams just come right out of his hands. I was like, yep, this is Star Wars. I mean, if the Flash can rip off Star Wars with Godspeed and Reverse Flash, I think Star Wars has more of an influence than people think. And that's actually another thing I want to say. Did you watched all of the Obi-Wan? Like, how many times over have you seen the 6 episodes of Obi-Wan?
Only twice.
Damn, I got you beat up. I watched it by 3 just the other day.
Oh, damn. Well,
I went back and I looked at it.
I like to watch something and then I process what I watch, and then kind of form my opinion about that, and then watch it again, and then see if things change or if I notice something. Like I really didn't like watching episode 9 the first time going through. Like I sat down through it, and maybe it's just because of like all the angry buildup that was going towards
I actually recommend for you then, since there's no extended cut of the film, which I'm baffled that they didn't, because I heard what was supposed. They were planning to pull like a Zack Snyder thing with episode 9, a 5-hour. Like too. If it was a 5-hour cut that fixed all its problems, I will sit there for 5 hours. I don't give a damn.
I like literally Disney 4-hour, 5-hour films.
But here's the thing: I'm kind of it's a blessing in disguise on who's in charge of Star Wars right now, because even though Kathleen Kennedy. She's technically, a lot of people don't understand the behind the scenes is going on. She's technically the vocal piece, but Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are the ones that are in charge with the thing. That's why the Disney COO, every time she has a complaint about them, that she's only in control of one show, and that's barely she's in control of it. She's only a mouthpiece for it, where I think Dave Filoni or one of them is helping with the Acolyte show, which is supposed to be, by my understanding, the prequel to how Palpatine and Plagueis became the new master and apprentice of that Rule of 2 era.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, God damn. Hold on. I got some weird. See, these are these people putting these comments. These are spam comments. I know who they're coming from, too. Damn.
Well, as I understood for weeks. Kathleen Kennedy, I think her responsibilities is just like, as a producer, is just finding the talent.
Like I told, if you want, I put a tweet one day. It was a troll tweet. Never got a response, but I was like, Disney, if you want a Lord of the Rings Academy Award winning Star Wars film, I will do it for free. Let me write the Old Republic trilogy. Because I'm like, I know a lot of people, we love the Old Republic. That really is the Lord of the Rings of Star Wars. If that's what you want, Lord of the Rings, that's the era to do it. But what I'm thinking, like what I honestly feel is, because I hope that, because there's are you interested in getting the new Old Republic remake, which is supposed to be now, like, you know how they said anything going forward, comics, books, and video games are canon. So this will canonize Old Republic. But I'm still iffy that it's I mean, well, I shouldn't be iffy. BioWare's gone down hell recently. The people who have been remastering all these Star Wars games, Aspire, I can't help but call them Aspire for some reason.
But I do that kind of thing all the time, so don't worry.
They have a great track record with not only making games, but with porting all these games. Like, they ported the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 to the Switch. And I'm like, these guys are making it. Okay, they have a grasp on what to do. Like, I wouldn't mind if there was a God of War styled Star Wars game, like God of War 2018. Do that. Like, please, God, just do that. I mean, they almost did it with.
You say that would be a Jedi Fallen Order, kinda?
That's more of a soul. That's more of a Souls-like. Like, you ever play Dark Souls? Think of it as a Souls-like. Well, Dark Souls would be the one game that make you throw your controller and finally break it. But this game is like Souls-like. If you want a full Souls experience, crank it up to Jedi Master mode. But I would say playing Jedi Knight, you'd get a fair. No, wait a minute. There's Jedi Master, and then there's the one above it called Grandmaster. There's Grandmaster mode, which I don't know how in God's green earth I did it, but I did it without getting hit. But with like Fallen Order, they should do. I'm fine with the way Fallen Order is, by the way. I'm glad they're continuing it. It needs to stay the way it is. The Fallen Order series, in my way, is the spiritual successor to the Force Unleashed games, because we never got that part 3.
Oh yeah, and that's something that I was a little disappointed by. And that's, kind of tied in with like the things that Disney has decanonized and cut ties with.
I understand. I love Starkiller, but I understand his power. And I know a lot of people are not going to like that he gets reduced a little bit, but to make him fair in the series, make him professional at what he does. Don't make him overpowered, but make him extremely professional at what he does. Like, he's more proficient, and he has how would I say this? He would be like the Vegeta of Star Wars. Make him like a Vegeta of Star Wars.
That's a pretty good way of putting it.
Like, he does wrong, still has that bad attitude of his, which Starkiller in the first game had an attitude all the way up until the middle when he finally started to change.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Oh, good. I got one of my mods is helping, because there's this one person that always spams like those scam sex sites, because I think I got an idea who it is, but that's not what this is about. But I just noticed it on my left.
Well, it's funny because I'm having that kind of issue too. With like every upload, there's always like some spam link, like someone posts onto my video, and it's just sort of like delete. Like I don't usually delete people's comments, but if it's something I'm just like, you're spam, like you're getting deleted.
Yeah, you're spam. And that's the thing is, I went back. I streamed Force Unleashed on my Twitch channel, and I went back like, okay, good. Like, but this one, I understand why it's compared to Fallen Order, but when I was like, no, this is more arcadey, where Fallen Order is close and personal. Because Force Unleashed, you could just go around, pick up a Jawa, lightning him into a little bomb, and throw it at somebody, which feels always good. And plus, I love the retelling of the DLCs that retold the OT. If you kill Darth Vader in the dark ending, you become his part, and you're the one person that could turn Luke to the dark side, and you kill Obi-Wan and his ghost.
Well, and in that, in the Force Awakens game, like that one ending though, where he, Palpatine turns him into Vader at the very end, but he's like,
he made him better, which is weird.
Against will. That haunts me to this day. Like I just want.
I think after playing as Dark Starkiller, you can't say that he didn't have an upgrade compared to Vader. He still shot lightning.
Yeah, but it's sort of like he wasn't willing though, and he gets.
No, he wasn't willing. You're right. He has to follow now in line what is the thing of the Sith, which is find an apprentice, overtake. But I think Starkiller, even in that position, could still take Palpatine, because Palpatine was scared bricks when he saw him. He was like, Palpatine, even in his own words, in the Legends aspect, if you read the book, Palpatine said, I might be the master of Force lightning, but that kid, if he hits me, I could die. If he hit me with a full bolt of Force lightning, he could stop Palpatine's heart.
Oh, yeah.
That's how strong Starkiller. Starkiller is not the originator of what he did. Was a lot of people. That's a deep this. I had to dig deep to figure this out about Starkiller, and even see maybe if there's people that I've seen probably some videos that could explain what I'm thinking, and that is Starkiller. This is why he's so hard to bring into canon. He's what you consider a Force enigma. He was trained by Vader, yes, but he's what Vader would have been if he wasn't restricted.
I can see that.
In fact, he'd probably be even greater. I like in the Obi-Wan show, they hinted at, like, the whole Obi-Wan 6 episodes, I realized it. This was structured like a video game. This was a video game show, but I didn't have a problem with it. You had a beginning where he's doing his minuscule things. You could say minuscule quests. You have his objective he has to go do. You got the drama with the objective. You got him getting his ass beat when he tries to get away from it. Then when you go to him going into the Inquisitor Forge, that's basically your training tutorial to get back into gear.
You're blowing my mind a little bit with that, because I was like, son of a bitch, it is a video game.
But then when you look at him, how he entered the hole to get into the fortress, that's the same thing you do as Cal. That's the same exact entrance. And some people say, oh, it's dumb that the Empire don't have better security. I'm like, would you go there with a place with a bunch of Jedi hunters and you don't have a Jedi with you? I mean, that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I get breaking in. I get the criticism breaking in is a problem because 4 years in the continuity of the timeline. 4 years ago, you played as Cal Kestis and you broke into the fortress very quickly and you got out very effectively.
Well, what's always irked me about like negative commenters like this is that they never, like, their logic is just very rarely consistent with that kind of thing, where they'll complain about something like that. And it's like, do you forget that Luke, Han, and a fucking grizzly bear like got aboard,
broke into the Death Star with an old man
and ran around? No one saw a thing until like midway through their quest to save Leia. Like, there's no security cameras in these ships for some reason. Like,
they successfully gave everyone because what they also wanted to do was have why did Leia get excited when Luke said, Ben is here, we're going to help you? She clearly had to have had an experience and knew the man for her to be like, to send it. Like, I had somebody tell me, oh, here's another plot hole. Why didn't Leia just refresh his memory in the tape recording? I said, 1, she's a senator. She's got to be professional. 2, she's on a ticking time bomb because there's stormtroopers right on the other side of the door. I'm like, are you going to be able to get out an entire monologue before you get blasted with the stun beam?
Well, also the way it's structured, the way she says it, and also the way the show ends with Kenobi is, he even tells her, we got to kind of keep this secret. Like, we can't, you can't really talk about the Jedi. And when she talks about him, she refers to him as General Kenobi. So if like the transmission is intercepted, she's not saying like, oh, you're a great Jedi warrior, and then revealing that she's like in cahoots with Jedi. It's
exactly
like, oh, this is just a person that I'm like politically affiliated with who has a rank of some kind, and
she still has to play the political. She still has to play the political game. And what's the funny part is, this is what a lot of people. This is something. If you look at it again, when you look at Luke and Leia, a lot of people assume Luke more like his father. No, the roles are reversed. Luke is like Padme, and Leia is more like Anakin because she might know the political game, but she can't stand it. And what did he not like? He knew the political game. He couldn't stand it. Even though he knew how to do it, he didn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Especially when he became Vader.
Which actually, it makes a lot of sense because, Luke was kind of this starry-eyed, hopeful, optimistic
child.
Semi-optimistic. I've made a video talking about like the difference between hope and optimism, and he's not that optimistic, but he does. He has shown optimism at some point. I'll grant that, but and that's definitely more in line with Padme. And meanwhile, Leia is way more fiery and fierce,
and she's headstrong.
She's headstrong, and that is Anakin to a T.
And then the one thing, which, this was something even in the old legends. So this is something that wasn't created by canon, which this is something I hate that these people use. Leia has always had a higher concentration to the Force than Luke. That was even in Legends. She had a higher concentration because in the original, let's call this the original version of the sequel trilogy. When her original son, Jason Solo, was born, Palpatine tried to do essence transfer to go into his body. No one else could see him. I think Luke wasn't there to be able to stop him, But Leia alone, who didn't even start her training yet, she banished him to the void of the Force before he could get into her son. And she basically just fully destroyed Palpatine's spirit. Like, now he could never return. Like, she just obliterated his ass. And then Luke was like, yo, we gotta talk, sis. We need to train a little bit. I just don't. That's another flaw. Why didn't the kids just both get taken to Dagobah with Obi-Wan and Yoda? The planet is already covered in a dark side aura, so it could mask their training, and then they would have been ready.
Well, I think the idea was, and I don't know like what the plan was for like the training situation, but
I do.
Apparently,
go ahead.
They were just from what I know, because I'm not as fluent in Legends as you are.
It's all good.
Granted.
It's all good. It's all good.
What I think it was the plan was to keep them separated so that if one, for whatever reason, was discovered, the other one would still be safe. I think Obi-Wan chose Luke over Leia just because she would be with these politicians. She wouldn't really have a whole lot of time to take away from training. But Luke, as a farm boy, his opportunities would be far more open to, take him out into the desert and training him at some point or some way. I don't know. But I think it might have also been about making sure they got the right kind of upbringing.
Which they had the kids at the end of the day.
Which in a way, I feel like the original trilogy sort of explains that the Jedi's original way of doing things was wrong. Because Yoda tells Luke, like, if you fall to the dark side, if you even let it in for a moment, it'll dominate your life forever. And Luke completely turns to the dark side to overpower Vader and holds him at point.
And here, I got another good one.
When he takes a step back.
I got a real good one for you to actually add on top of that.
Yeah.
You know how people said that, this wasn't my Luke Skywalker? Let me hit you with this logic. Luke Skywalker turned to the dark side when Palpatine returned in the old Empire series. Palpatine did, force regeneration, essence transfer, went into a new body, got his form back. Luke finally submitted and turned to the dark side and joined him. Now, Luke eventually redeemed himself, but the atrocities Luke committed in between to achieve that power, I would still see people to this day say, no, that's not Luke. He wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. The same argument would happen, but I'm like, oh, no, you can't use that. This is the story you wanted. You wanted legend. You got to deal with it.
Yeah, and I mean, in comparison, it's like Luke is dealing with like something that is super traumatic to him that he's never had to deal with. It's one thing to lose to Darth Vader and, having that trauma to deal with. It's a completely different story. It's a different story when you're dealing with your nephew, your beloved nephew.
Wait, nephew? You mean his son? Oh, you froze. Oh, Blur, you there? You froze. Oh, man. Blurry?
Hold on.
Yeah, you froze. I don't see you. Or I can barely hear you now.
I was
what?
trying to make a comment. I tell you, I don't know. I was trying to make a comment like, I don't know what's happening and trying to get it to you. But so where did I lose you? Where did I?
I don't know. Well, because right now your current your image is frozen. That's what I was saying. Like your voice is like coming in and out, and your huh? See if you could reestablish the connection by jumping out and jumping back in. Now we have some minor technical difficulties, but that's all right. Let me get him back in here. Let me post another. Anyway, we'll just wait for him to come back, and we'll continue the conversation. That was weird. We had a disconnect. Damn. It was just getting real good, too. It was heated. Well, not heated in the bad way, but the conversation was good. It was fiery. Let's see. Anyway, well, until he comes back, let me read some stuff for you because I have the Jedi manual thing over here that can explain certain things to Star Wars that the Fandom Menace doesn't want to tell you guys. How about, let me go to this page. Let's see. Alter abilities. Alter abilities, such as Doppelganger. They said that the Phantom Menace believes that the power to doppelganger yourself, what Luke did, is basically BS. When I'm holding the book right now, that tells you doppelganger or similfuturis or similfuturis or whatever how the hell you say it, permits a Jedi to create a short-lived duplicate of himself or herself or an external object that is visually indistinguishable from the real item. Those who have protected the ability can create phantoms of their own choosing to trick the enemy, but those of not of the strength could die in the process. Oh, there you go.
There we'll be back.
Yeah, I was just reading off the part. I was actually just reading off a little part to everybody that the Fandom Menace says is BS, and that's the doppelganger ability, which I'm holding the manual that tells you the ability exists. Like what Luke did that cost him his life.
Yeah.
And that ability, believe it or not, can cost you your life if you don't use it effectively. And by my understanding, that's the first time he ever used it. He never mastered it.
Well, essentially, the point I was meaning to get to with all this is when it comes to the Fandom Menace and their arguments, I sort of feel like what I've discovered is that their arguments are not about... They don't need to be consistent because it's not about being logically consistent. It's not about what's being made. It's about who's making it. And when their narrative is being anti-Disney, whatever, they can't do anything right. It doesn't matter if the logic's inconsistent. It's just
they move the goalpost too much. They're always moving the goalpost. Let's say when Star Wars finally creeps up on them and they don't, they're like, shit, we can't. We can't get they were. I'll tell you what it is. I go back and see all the rest. They are struggling with Kenobi. They have to add stuff, which is like baffling. And people need to accept that stuff like that. Disney is a company. They're not supposed to show you what people are saying about them because that does go against privacy matters and all that. But people have leaked out, but videos get taken down obviously because of Disney. Somebody put out saying that I felt bad because the lady did get attacks like that. And I'm like, she didn't deserve that. And yeah, her character could have been better written, but she's an Inquisitor. None of the Inquisitors are written well. They're written as fodder to be taken out eventually.
Yeah, they're minor supporting characters. And I mean, the fact that we got as much as we did with Reva, like explaining where she came from and like what her issue is, I mean, I felt that was compelling. And you know, there's also talk like in the woodworks that she might get her own show, and yet
she was supposed to die actually. You know, in the final, she was okay. You know the scene where Vader's sitting in his chair talking to Palpatine?
Yeah.
The scene was supposed to go on a little further where Obi-Wan brought Reva back and made her realize this, and she was like, "Well, I'll try to work on the inside as a double agent," but not realizing that she didn't notice that her alignment in the Force. You could sense what alignment you are. Vader would obviously sense in his presence that her alignment is not the dark side. And she was going to tell him, I took Obi-Wan down. You know, he was going to give her like a belt for proof, like his Clone Wars belt. And he was like, he would have knew it was a lie. He says, you know, how can you stop him if I couldn't even just beat him? And he was supposed to pull her right into his lightsaber. And that's when the call with Palpatine was supposed to then pop up. So they cut it because I think in Star Wars, a lot of people don't understand that dark side wielders, a lot of them do get, especially ones that are not even like, they go to the dark side out of desperation, but they could still be redeemed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She's not a Palpatine or a Maul. I mean, you could say Maul kind of redeemed himself because him and Obi-Wan had a little bit of a, you know, he was like, if the paths were different, perhaps we probably wouldn't have done that, you know. And Obi-Wan, they didn't show it in the cartoon, but it was confirmed that Obi-Wan gave him the same kind of funeral they gave Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
So at least he buried with respect.
I feel like in that final fight, which I mean, in the Rebel series where where Obi-Wan and Maul duel for the last time. First of all, I loved that scene. It was incredible. I cried a little bit when I watched it.
It's not the whole point of a fight. It's the fact that they both, like Obi-Wan proves again he's either the best master or the best master at the art of the troll, because he did Qui-Gon's stance, which is what Maul recognized. He tried to hit him in the face, and then Obi-Wan switched quickly to Form 3 and sliced right down.
Yeah. Well, what I was getting at was, like, I think in that moment when Maul is dying in Obi-Wan's arms, like, he has that final revelation where it's just like, man, we've all been played from the very beginning. And, you know, he wants Obi-Wan to tell him, like, is the kid that you're protecting, is he the chosen one? And, you know, that's
a line that's a line that's funny that still confuses people. But even a lot of people still forget that even as Darth Vader, Anakin is still the chosen one, because he still does his job by the end of it.
Yeah.
And what about the fact that? Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
Well, I was just talking. I've talked about this before. Like the whole prophecy thing is very confusing, and it doesn't have a whole lot of sense. Like, I don't know the whole terms of the prophecy, and I don't know. Like, the only thing I know about it is there's a chosen one, and that
it's actually far. It is far deeper, because you actually have to go to understand the Jedi's prophecy. You have to go into the Sith, because the Sith have the same prophecy. The Sith and what it really boils down to is the Jedi have the chosen one, and the Sith have their chosen one, but not realizing it's both the same. The chosen one is the same for both, because the chosen one is supposed to break down the remnants of both orders and start anew. He destroys who at the time is Palpatine, the greatest Sith. He's supposed to stop the greatest Sith, but yes, it's supposed to come at the life of also the Jedi. And he's supposed to start things from even the father of Mortis kind of hints that you need to start. You do the balance. You can control it. Once you control it, you need to build off of that from there. Because yes, the old form of the Jedi was dying, and the ancient Sith ways have long since died.
Yeah. Like,
Palpatine believed himself to be the chosen one of the Sith, but he never was able to gain the true form of its power. And that's why he wanted Anakin, because he knew Anakin can do it. But it's kind of a good thing that Anakin, in a way, got burned, because if Palpatine abused all that power, really nobody would be able to beat Anakin. I mean, Palpatine would have to worry about the blade turning on him, which wouldn't even be much of a challenge for Anakin if he didn't get jacked up. I like how he avoids him. Like, Palpatine always made it clear that he feared Anakin, but that's why he never went into any kind of form of conflict as Palpatine or anything like that, because lightsaber, you know how Palpatine always runs from a lightsaber duel. He's more proficient with the Force, but he always tries to run. Like, he tried to run from Yoda. And I'm like, I get it. It's Yoda. You will run the other way.
Well, I feel like there is like some like bits of and when it comes to Star Wars' storytelling, I feel like they didn't really do a good job. Like, the way you explained how the prophecy situation works, that makes sense to me, where it's about starting anew, where the Jedi, the Sith, as they are
dead. They have to die
to this chosen one. But that's not really hinted at the way you explained it in the movies or anything like that. And you know, I feel like the story could be a little bit better, explaining those kind of things. But that's, it's something that's we're well past now. But if we at some point go back and touch on that like a little bit more, I would appreciate it personally.
See, in the it's where you get in the Legends continuity how both prophecies are related. Now, in the canon, it's more it's briefly mentioned, but it's touched, like whatever they slowly introduce from the Legends is going to get fleshed out later. But like Mace Windu and Yoda are the actual two that might know that the prophecy relates to both sides. And it's actually Mace Windu who has the most issue with it, because it's like, is there a way to do this prophecy without it effectively ending all of us? Yeah. I mean, I would say maybe you destroyed all the Jedi, yes, but take ones who are worthy of your teachings and you'll begin anew with them, because you got to have students, you got to have somebody and I get it. He would start with his children, because if Anakin was able to train both his kids, then basically that trio, there's no Sith that's going to be able to stop them. It's you're done, you're wrapped, you're not even going to get close. Because then even if you get through the kids, you got to get to Daddy, and Daddy's going to definitely throw you out the airlock.
Papa Vader ain't taking no shit.
And especially if God forbid, if Padme was still alive, because it's another thing a lot of people don't know. It was Palpatine that did that. He was willing her to die through the Force. She wasn't going to. He was willing her to die.
I thought that was just a fan theory. I didn't know that was actually canon.
No, yeah, he in the comic books, it's not like he doesn't open his mouth and says it, but it's shown through his actions what he's doing. So it's like they'll show it to you and they expect you to piece it together. Oh,
a little bit.
Yeah, you froze a little bit.
Oh.
There you go. I see you moving.
Am I back? Am I okay?
I can hear you. It's just you're moving in slow motion.
I heard most of that.
It's like
Okay.
You got Palpatine trying to always, the end goal for Palpatine was what any Sith would want, immortality. But immortality, what they don't know, is becoming a Force ghost. That's the immortality. That's the because the ghost can still. Yeah, it can and can't. Okay, a Sith spirit can return if strong enough. If they will their body, like if they will their spirit over being pulled away to the void. It's like in Legends, Darth Sion from the Old Republic did it. Revan did it.
Okay.
Nihilus did it. There's an ancient, like one of the very last ancient Sith lords from the way back. He survived 4 to 5 generations by constantly changing his body. Because the essence transfer, it's a form of immortality, but you need to be really good at it to take over someone's body. Because then once you take over that body, it's yours. It's you. You're yourself again. And whatever strengths came with that body. So let's say Palpatine jettisoned his body. Let's say if he put his mind into Anakin, he could have not only his power, he has Anakin's power. So that's both double the strength in one person. I know it's a lot of. There's also some science to it, which I know a lot of people don't like science explained in Star Wars, but I mean it's a technological, advanced sci-fi society. I think there would be science involved with the mysticism.
Well, you know, people. That's another thing that people have a problem with. Like they talk about scientific accuracy, and this is a show about ghosts. I'm pretty sure they can do whatever they want with it, but. Like scientific methods for things is cool, and it's cool to get a scientific explanation for things in these kind of things. But
you would think non-Force users would try to use science to explain what the Jedi can do, and then maybe the Jedi adopted their own scientific aspects to like, okay, you can explain it through the mysticism, but you can also explain it to someone that really won't understand the mysticism. You explain it through science. Because, I mean, you can't say that everybody's going to understand the mysticism in that galaxy unless they're a Force wielder.
Yeah.
Oh, I get what I got a concept. Yeah, lore. Everyone hates it. I know everyone hates lore that makes sense. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And every time I hear the fandom menace open their mouth, it's like a caveman saying, why you don't do Star Wars my way? Because I think I understand why a fan, unless it's a fan who is like truly holds the passion and everyone holds everyone in mind. Let's be real. If any one of us as a fan wanted to make a Star Wars movie, we're making it the way our eyes are going to see it, not the way everyone else is going to see it. We're like, no, this is what we think is best. That's why it's very hard to give everybody what they want when it comes to Star Wars, because we all have so many interpretations of what we want to happen.
That I agree.
I mean, George got it right the first time. He was like, "These are his movies."
And that was lightning in a bottle, because I mean, it was something new, and like people, I mean, that worked because people didn't know what they wanted because Star Wars didn't exist. So it set like its own standards.
If I told you in Legends, zombies exist in Star Wars, you wouldn't think, how the hell do they exist? But the 2 books where they exist, they fit perfectly well within the mythology. It's the Sith that can create, like the Sith, they do science too. They created a very similar zombie-like virus. It's supposed to be one of the early forms of trying to create immortality. It's called the I think it's called the Force, the blood essence ritual, if I got that correctly, where a Sith Lord who wants to achieve immortality, he would infect himself with this plant. He would try to make it into a liquid. It's like it's a plant that's going to turn you into the living dead, basically. But you have to ingest the plant, like the liquid, You need to rip out the heart of a very powerful Force user and devour it. And if you do, that basically it stops the decaying of being the zombie, and you're immortal. Basically, you could take a gash with a lightsaber; it ain't gonna do nothing. But it happened in the Old Republic, and it actually happened in Legends. It happened 1 year before A New Hope on a Star Destroyer, where they were messing with the plant, and Vader and Palpatine were like, "Well, that's on y'all. Y'all lost in the galaxy. That's a whole ship of the day." Oh, I got another person coming in. This guy is good, knows the Lord just as much. That he'd be a good addition to it. Give me one moment. I'm gonna add him.
All right, yeah, no problem. Hello,
Yo, are you there?
Hey, everyone.
Damn, you up early.
You would be Dylan Blurry Films. Hello.
Yeah, howdy.
This Keo is with me when it comes to my battles against the fandom menace. He's there for every single one, so he knows, and he knows things that I didn't even know.
Mainly behind the scenes on the filmmaking, mostly. John's the expert when it comes to the lore and stuff like that. That's why I said lore. Everyone hates it. But one thing I was going to ask you, Dylan, is would you agree when it comes to the books and everybody kind of doesn't like to read it? Well, actually, it's not well known. Books would basically have been considered legalized fan fiction when they first came out, Legends continuity.
Okay.
Would you agree it? That's all.
Oh, would I agree with that? I never really got into the books. Like I have a few of them on my shelf, and I intend to read them at some point. But personally,
G-Bane wants to come in too. Damn.
It just sort of felt like to me what was canon was, whatever the movies or the creators of the movies made into canon. So I don't want to say it's fan fiction. It's
no. Not trying to put you on the spot, dude. I was wondering because that's actually what they were considered by fans at the time until the Thrawn trilogy. The Thrawn trilogy is the reason why we got the movies re-released, because most people don't realize it. I've said it on John's show a couple times. Did you know that the reels that they put the movies in, the theaters, were probably about 1 or 2 years away from total degradation, that they wouldn't have been able to salvage them? That's why they got them out of things. I mean, who would want to watch the original Doctor Who 40 years later? I don't know. Why would we take care of films? They're just something we want to show people. But yeah, that's one reason why they made the special editions. Like they added the Han shot first type things because they kind of could, because there were holes in the films. They kind of had them fixed because, degradation of them. And Paramount, or is it Fox? Who owns it?
Fox at the time.
Fox doesn't know how to preserve films. And Dylan, I will agree. I would say this, and I've told John this. The first Star Wars film is lightning in a bottle when it comes to success. And a lot of people don't realize George Lucas was sitting on a beach trying to relax because he was almost killed himself doing that film. By that, I mean overexhaustion, everyone, not actually do that. And he got a call from his manager. He's like, George, we have a problem. He's like, what? I want to relax. Your film?
We need the Empire to strike back.
It's blowing up. Can we put it in more theaters? Because theaters at the time were selected theaters. It was under selected theaters. It could be put a few because it's the 70s, I believe. Yeah, it was 79-ish.
It was 70. Oh no, it was 77, 80, 83.
Okay, so the first one, just the first one.
77.
And Dylan, I would ask you this. I've actually asked John this and many others. What is the actual plot? When you look at it from a literature section,
we had this one already. I told you that he was going to bring this up. Empire.
For Empire?
No, for just New Hope. I only came in on New Hope.
For New Hope, I would just sort of call it, the hero's journey in a way, where it's just this young, ignorant person who doesn't know like all this stuff is going to go on this journey of discovery of this power and these, magical force, and is getting involved with the rebellion. So
bare bones, Dylan's what I'm just saying, like bare bones. Like when you look at it, like how we have go kill the dragon.
It's kind of like how when we were talking about Empire and I thought, like, how we got it's like all the tones are on above it, but I'm like, remember how I tell you the underlining was the
destruction.
It was a chase.
Yeah.
Rescue the princess. It's Rescue the Princess. It's
I would just say
Super Mario in space.
I would just say, what was that?
I would say, just look at it. Princess Leia. We got to go Princess Leia from a Death Star, which could be considered a castle.
Save the princess.
But here's another funny thing. When George made that, and a lot of people disagree with my opinion of this, because actually, even though I'm not old enough to know saying that, that was meant to be like it wasn't. He wasn't going to expand the lore like the Vader and things. He just wanted to make a Flash Gordon film. Has anybody seen Flash Gordon? Or am I the only one?
It's been a while.
Geek?
I know of it, but I never.
Yeah, or knows of it. He just wanted to make
when I was younger.
He wanted to make like a Flash Gordon type film, so it was like a passion project originally. And also that's funny is the lightsaber scenes when they had to have that thing. They were trying to be very careful when fighting, otherwise they might break them because those were very expensive
at the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And another funny fact when it comes to filmmaking, the studio that's famous now, Industrial Lights and Magic. I mean, Industrial Lights. I think it's
ILM.
Yeah, whatever. The Island. They were a brand new studio at the time that nobody wanted to use, and the Star Wars films were what made them hit him on the lamp. But yeah, as I would say, when it comes to most of that, and what I meant by legalized fan fictions was the books are, like I said, what fleshed out what John's talking about. Because also, I would also point this out, George Lucas. I gotta ask you something. Do you notice a tone difference in Episode 1 and 2 compared to 3 and the rest of the Star Wars films? Of how it's to be enjoyed.
Personally, not necessarily. I mean, there is definitely some tone differences. Because in the first three, the first two films to the rest. I mean, actually, it's sort of hard because like my version of what's tone different is.
I mean, enjoyment level. Enjoyment level.
Oh, enjoyment level. Oh, then. Again, I don't fully.
There's something to enjoy about each film. That's the weird part. There's something about each of them. Even though, let's just say, episode 1 and 2 may not be the best, but let's be real. We enjoyed the final battle of part 1. Then that's the same thing with part 2. We saw a war right at the start, and the Jedi Coliseum was the kicker because we never seen that many Jedi at the time.
Yeah,
fighting.
That was incredible.
And then three is like, hold my beer. Everybody's gonna die.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I mean by that is from a creative standpoint and what it feels like a Star Wars film. How you remember the first 3 before we even get to these prequels. Do the first 2, 1 and 2, feel like number 3, 4, 5, and 6?
Like Empire,
when you watch it,
like New Hope, Empire, and that is like it doesn't feel like more of a. It feels like a 4, 5, and 6, but when they came out, they felt like a singular 1, 2, and 3 because they didn't have the numbers put on at the time.
I mean just episode 1 and 2.
Oh, episode 1 and 2.
To enjoy it. Do they feel at all like a Star Wars film?
Not until you get to Tatooine.
Yeah, because here's the funny thing. A lot of people don't realize this either. Did you know that George was so demanding that he worked strictly on the prequels? That's why number 1 and 2 didn't feel like a Star Wars film until 3, because 1, 4, 5, and 6, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of Jedi, were all collaborative films where he worked with multiple people, so he had multiple input to critique him. I mean, that's why we get it's sand. I hate it. It's in my boots.
George didn't.
I definitely can see where you're coming from with that, because in the prequel movies, Lucas was definitely way more in charge and way more like his voice was more law during that. And in the original trilogy, we know for a fact that those movies became what they are because so many people were, adding their own little touches to it. But with the prequels, Lucas was a lot more sternly tight-fisted about what his vision was going to be.
Well,
and
actually,
the third film, I think he was a little bit more lenient on letting some little changes happen.
Actually, the studio said, "George, sit in the corner. You're going to work with a group like you did the original before, because we've gotten a lot of backlash from episode 1 and 2. So you're going to sit in the corner, and that's why they chucked the mini chlorine thing. If you notice, midi-chlorians is not brought up again come episode 3
at all. Yeah.
Because George wanted to put science in there, but the problem is, George can only make a black and white picture of a box of crayons. He will only use black and white colors. He will not use all the other color palette to do that. That's why he needs it to work better for team. There are people, and I've said this in many times when it comes to creative writing to anything, because I've talked about creative writing with John several times. You work better as a team than you do as a person, just by yourself. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. But that's the problem with George. He was too prideful to admit that I need a little help, like critique when it comes to episode 1 and 2, like a little feedback. That's why the trap Jar Jar Binks exists. Did you notice they relegated him to almost nothing come 2 and 3?
Well, give Jar Jar credit this. Jar Jar somehow redeems himself in the animated series.
The animated
Jar Jar starts the war.
Jar Jar starts the war, basically. He's like this. And the Senate give emergency powers to the Supreme Chancellor. You just ignited the end of the Republic, my good friend.
I didn't think he knew. Come on.
He didn't know, but I'm like, you know what? That Darth Jar Jar theory is really starting to fall into place.
Though I gotta tell you, if I took one look at Palpatine, I'd just be like, no, I ain't giving you power of nothing. You're creepy looking, and I know that's not doing it. I'm getting ice cream.
I've actually talked to people when it comes to Palpatine too, because when we get to the sequels, that's where everyone has problems. And I'm just only mentioning the first 3 here. Is Palpatine's pretty much a multi-layered dimensional villain to a degree. When he gets to the final episode, I'm stupid evil, I'm stupid Sith. I really do call it stupid Sith.
I think at that point, he's just tired of I'm not going to get checked over a ledge again. I'm just going to go all out. And you notice when villains start to go all out, that's when they lose sight and they begin to lose. Like Thanos, he only succeeded in Infinity War because he didn't derive from his plot. The moment in Endgame when past Thanos says, instead of wiping out half of humanity, I'm going to wipe all of you out and start new. He deviated from his original standing in what was meant to happen. So therefore, he left it open for his defeat. He was going to fail.
Actually, I was going to ask you on that question, if we could leave it for one quick question involving Thanos, because I've asked this with many others. Which do you like better written as a character, Thanos in Infinity War or Endgame?
Personally, I like Thanos in Infinity War because his goals are a little bit more relatable and understandable, and I say relatable, like I want to wipe out half the universe, or I understand that, but you get a feel of where his mindset is coming from, and there's like this level of understanding, like what's causing him to believe wiping out half the universe is a good thing, and I feel like that's way more in depth than what he is in Infinity and Endgame, where it's just sort of like John says, is where it's like he just shows up and he's like, I'm not giving anyone a chance anymore. I'm getting the Infinity Gauntlet and I'm going to be God. And basically, I'm just going to snap anything I don't like out of existence. And that's not who he was in Infinity Wars. He was more like an environmental terrorist.
When you think about it, in an Endgame, with the stupid time travel, as I say it, they did a character assassination of Thanos. When think about it, all that stuff, they character assassinated him.
In a way, I've noticed that. I did used to kind of argue with that, but then when I'm like, why would he suddenly do a 180? If I was in his position and I found out that I would die, I would still keep my goal, but I would reconstruct my goal to make sure, okay, this happened to me once. Let me prevent this from happening while still keeping my goal intact.
Well, I feel like the events of Infinity War showed him that he achieved his ultimate goal. He won. He got everything he wanted. And he even went to the level of destroying the Infinity Stones to ensure what he did could not be undone. And
that's a crazy part, because in the comic books, that's the one thing about the movies. When people were trying to assume what the stones can do, the movies threw the rules out the window, because both in the comics, when you use the stones in the gauntlet, it has no negative effect. You're basically a god. It don't matter who you are. Wield it, you're a god. This one, I understand they gave the rule. Okay, I was like, all right, the new rule is it needs to be wielded by somebody of extraordinary power. Okay, I understand that. Yeah. But then the moment he said the stones destroyed the stones, I was like, okay, I don't know the rules anymore, because he tried that in the comic book and it didn't work. He says, I can't break them.
Here's a question for you both. Would the Thanos and Endgame have cried when he found out he had to kill Gamora?
Endgame? No, he didn't, because he didn't have to do it.
No, because I don't think he built up to the sacrifice yet. Because
he was just right then and there.
But an emotional level of how he's written, would he have been like? Because if you remember in Infinity War, he froze.
He was upset.
He didn't want to do it, and even Red Skull said, because Gamora's like, "You're screwed. You kill." You know, she was celebrating this, and she goes, "Oh, really? Tears?" And Red Skull goes, "Those are not for him. That he's not crying because he lost. He was crying because he had to kill her."
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the situation, because in his initial pursuit, like, he didn't know like what the sacrifice was going to be for the soul gem, and it was only because I think there was that scene where there was like this sacrifice that was needed to get it, but it wasn't fully delved into until they got to.
No one knew what it was until they met Red Skull.
Yeah,
it was meant to be
they were
vague.
at that ledge, and then that's where the Red Skull fully broke it down for the guy. I was just like, this is what you have to give up. And the Thanos in Endgame, he was still at the start before he had gotten any of the Infinity Stones yet. So he didn't realize like the true sacrifice that was going to go into.
Because every time you wield a stone, basically you have to sacrifice a part of yourself. That was something they stated way early in the movie. Every time you wield a stone, a part of you has to go.
I'm going to reiterate that, because what I'm talking about with Thanos does relate to Star Wars in a degree. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you think Infinity War by itself is just Thanos going through the hero's journey. In a nutshell, it is. Thanos is basically
the reverse hero's journey, more like it.
Instead of hero's journey, but it's
a path to freedom. A path to freedom is a path to genocide for him.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, and I've said before, to reference Star Trek, Picard will do the right thing for the right reasons and not really care. Another person will do the right thing for all the right reasons and hate themselves for it, which is Cisco. And Cisco hates himself for it. And that's basically what, by the end of the movie, Infinity War was. Thanos hated himself for doing that. I mean, what does he do? Sit down in his chair and just cries at a grateful universe compared to usual. But back to anything. Character assassination is what they did in Endgame. Literally, he is no longer the interesting multi-layer character you saw in Infinity War. He is, at times, I'm evil just to be evil.
He's Guardians of the Galaxy Thanos when we first see him with Ronan the Accuser.
Yep.
Well, that's what I was sort of getting at earlier, where because of where he's pulled in from, he doesn't have that same development.
His mindset is domination at that point.
But it's from a writing level, it is called character assassination.
Like when you look into it,
I don't disagree with that, because the Thanos of Infinity War is way more compelling than this guy who's just like, I'm going to destroy everything because you've pissed me off. But that's what was leading me into his new kind of mindset, because this is a Thanos that has not gone through that hero's type journey, but he's also seen him succeed in that journey and still see that there are people out there that, regardless of him winning and doing everything in his power to ensure that win stays in effect, they're going to do everything in their power to uproot it and change it anyway. So the only logical next step to do is like, well, then I guess I have to be God and just kill everyone and just restructure everything from the ground up and make it my own perfect universe.
Which the perfect time for him to do that should have been when he first saw himself get destroyed in the hologram. He should have kept his goals the same, but he should have took even more necessary, steps to where, you could have had your mindset, but if you just didn't deviate from the half of the universe, you know what, fine, I'll just erase that half that committed this to me and leave the other half that can't do shit to me.
Here's the second question.
Yeah.
What do you think of them undoing character deaths?
Ooh.
It's a mixed bag for me, and if it's done right, I like it in extent. Like, for example, Maul. I love that they brought back Maul, and they fleshed out his character throughout the Clone Wars and the Rebel series. It turned Maul for me and you keep in mind, I haven't read any of the comics or books that maybe
no, that's fine. We're talking media.
Just that media of the Clone Wars and Rebels, it turned Maul into this one-shot villain who had 2 lines of dialogue, which is kind of crazy when you think about Jar Jar Binks having more lines of dialogue and impact in all 3 trilogies of Star Wars than this Sith Lord had in one film, where he kills a Jedi Master like Qui-Gon, and he turns him into this fleshed out, tragic character that's like, you understand where he comes from, you understand like his upbringing, and you understand his motivations and everything. And it's, in a way, it's tragic, but in another way, it all works to make him so much more compelling. But then you have other situations where people are like talking about bringing back Mace Windu, bringing back who else did they bring back? I know I'm drawing a blank. Oh, they brought back Boba Fett. They brought back.
The thing is, Boba Fett returned anyway in the EU as well, so Boba Fett really didn't die.
But here's a good Dylan. Do you know what you just described? Exactly what I was talking about.
From with character assassination
with Maul, and not only with most of what I went to. Yeah, think about it. He went from a one-note character, which is strictly there, to a multi-layer character. Thanos is the same thing but reversed. By Endgame, he's a one-note character, but in the very first one, he's a multi-layer character.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you on that. I feel like
I just need to use Thanos as an example, really.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Because he's so well known in media today, it's the best use to use an example. Because I can't use niche characters.
Yeah.
So. So when you look at it, that's why I say the Palpatine, by they get to the final one, even though they're written in our corner, it is stupid evil. They have done basically, again, character assassination. Because if you look at the 6 films, he's kind of a multi-layer character who always has a backup plan.
I said it earlier when we brought up I brought up everything you said. I went like this. I was like, he was basically Xemnas before Xemnas, or what was his other identity that you called him?
Xehanort.
He's Xehanort before Xehanort. And then Birth by Sleep is the Revenge of the Sith of the Kingdom Hearts series.
It's actually structured as Nomura has stated. He took heavy influence from Star Wars, and I'm just going to eject my mind of Nomura right now because that was the meal.
Yeah, he hates by the way, Dylan, he hates the writer of Kingdom Hearts because the writer did kind of start to butcher the storyline way later in the games.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the stories can be bad, but it's still, for some reason, it's the gameplay that you want to go through because it is fun being alongside the Disney characters. Even if the story is outlandish.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're universe hopping throughout all these areas. I mean, I felt like it.
Pirates of the Caribbean is the best world so far.
To make it like perfect because it's so wacky, you know.
Okay, to deviate back to Star Wars, since that's the main subject, I derailed you all because I needed to use Thanos as an example for the character thing. The reason why I said there's character assassination is, look at Palpatine, but also, again, you brought Maul by the end of the Auxiliary Works, and you see him also in what was it going to be Solo, which stupid Phantom Menace canceled because we would have seen the Maul you were talking about.
Solo was a surprisingly good. Solo was a surprisingly good movie. I didn't see the thing is that's why my fight with them really started because I was like, you guys convinced me that this movie was horrible. I watched it 2 times over, and I'm like, the dude didn't do a bad job. In fact, he acted like Harrison Ford in his own way. He didn't rip off Harrison Ford. He acted like him in his own sense. He talked like I mean. There's still, what is it? The movie, I think, what is it? He's 7 years into being Han Solo, so he's still relatively young, and people are like, oh, how he's going to look like the way he does. It's still another 13 years away. Or no,
he's young and arrogant.
So he could kind of evolve.
And the guy, and Alan Ehrenreich plays that young and arrogant role like really well. But he has that smarmy attitude that we love about Han Solo as well.
He's not cold yet. He's not cold yet the way we know him. He still has some doubts in some things, but then by the end, he's like, you know what? I need to be an asshole.
Yeah, and by the end, he's also going to go work with the Hutts. And if you go spend 13 years, you're going to learn to be an asshole real quick.
He worked with Jabba for a long time. It wasn't until we got close to the OT trilogy, then mistakes fell back on Han, but he was always like, Jabba even said it. He's like, Han, you're one of my best smugglers. I don't want to send a, thing after you. If I was Han, I would be like this. You don't send none of these fucking people to do it. You keep sending me. Clearly, I'm the best. If you threaten me, who's going to get you this money the way you want it? You ain't going to send the bounty hunter over there to do it.
Jabba would too much money. Yeah, Jabba wants that money.
Jabba would be like, yeah, you know what? Every one of my boys do cause collateral damage. You really don't. I'm like, so try not to threaten me. Every time you threaten me, I will drop something. If you don't, every time you don't threaten me, Jabba, I'll bring you more than what I should. How about that? Jabba, it's money. Jabba will be like, shit, you're right. None of my boy boss. Why you ain't doing this? Hey, yo, Boba, come on, man. You're a good bounty hunter, but you having trouble with this guy right here?
Second question. Did you know that the TV shows are also considered basically, as I would say, auxiliary works? They help you flesh out the characters to enjoy them more.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That I love that Disney's doing, and frankly, I would much rather them, like, if given the choice, I would much rather them they just focus on making TV shows than movies.
Over movies.
Because the TV shows give plenty of time to build as much context as possible, and I really hope at some point in the future they're going to start doing sequel-related TV shows to build context with Rey, Finn, Poe, and give more life to these characters that I really like, but I just don't feel like they did enough of, because you have Rey sharing 3 movies with a bunch of different characters, and we don't you don't
have a trio like you normally would.
Yeah,
I activate my trap card. Okay, I just led you all the Dylan here. I'm referencing somebody. They keep talking Yukio in the chat, so I just wanted to say that
I might have a Jinzo at play. So
okay, but there Dylan lies in the beauty of difference between a TV show and a movie. Because even though we saw them in the movies, with TV shows, we can make a 1-season thing to flesh out Obi-Wan. With Obi-Wan, we can take 1 season and flesh him out, and just make it a 1-season TV show. That's the beauty of TV, but the problem is TV costs more money than a movie. That always boils down to money. And
I think there's a way that Disney could actually do both.
Just in general.
Yeah, you're right. Money. What they're doing right now is, I told you, Keel, you know how we've been seeing that they confirmed that they're going to be doing their version of Heir to the Empire. So Heir to the Empire is coming in a different way. I mean, but we see a lot of the key things that were in Heir to the Empire that we know, like the cloning mountain that we see from the Bad Batch. That was a huge location of Heir to the Empire. They might be doing an Obi-Wan season 2, because they said that this was going to be a trilogy leading up to what happened, to how we see him, who he is, because I think he still needs to become more of the Jedi wisdom. The man we see that took down Maul, basically. We need to see him
the interesting part when it comes to what the TV shows are, and I explained it to you the other night, John. Yeah. TV shows can be up to an hour on specials.
Oh, yeah.
Movies are only given at least a 3-hour gap. They are not allowed to extend past Snyder cuts.
Yeah.
Like I said, I will sit there for a 4-hour Star Wars movie. I don't care if it's a 6-hour. I will sit my ass there. If you told me tomorrow, John, look, Old Republic is probably going to be a 1-movie thing, but it's going to be a 6-hour cut. You'll be like, wait, what's that noise? I'm checking my credit card.
I'll need a catheter, but I'm going to sit through it every single second of it.
But
I did it when
TV show for that format is a lot more convenient.
Perfect, yeah.
I agree. So movies are meant to be kind of like the one shot condensed into one big thing, but they are limited by the time. With TV shows and doing this in TV show based, and say you just want to make the Book of Boba Fett be strictly about Boba Fett, you can leave it alone. Or The Mandalorian, by the end of the first season, you could have left it alone. You see what I mean? You can leave every one of the loans and make one shots instead of having to rely on making trilogies and all this. What you just said about wanting the 6 films that you have the sequel trilogy, that would be good for format for maybe 1 or 2 seasons to flesh out what we hated about them in the sequels and in the TV show format, because you're giving them more time and more scripting and stuff like that. And people forget this, in a TV show, you are not strictly written to one writer. You can have multiple writers. Look at Supernatural seasons 1 and 2. Every episode, different writer.
That is yeah, that was true. So the thing about the shows, what I think they should do, if this is, because what Disney is doing with Star Wars, they're trying to structure it like the MCU, which in a way is working. They're structuring it, but they're, instead of building up to the future, this is what's unique. They're building us up to the past, which is now, that's why a lot of people are showing Old Republic stuff now. And Old Republic has been appearing in the comic books, like lightsaber artifacts, ancient masks. There's a mural in the Sith temple where Palpatine was in episode 9. We didn't see it, but we see it in the books in the back art. All the ancient Sith that we knew from the Old Republic, Bane, Nihilus, Revan, all of them, they're on this mural. And what's the unique part is they're all fighting Nihilus. So if I'm guessing correctly, what Old Republic might do, Old Republic might just say, fuck separating these guys from separate time periods. We're going to have all the big guys as the bad guys for the trilogy. And I think Nihilus would be perfect because that would, I think if let's say Darth Bane, right? If you do an Old Republic trilogy, you have Darth Bane as maybe like one of somebody who's in Darth Maul's role, except he doesn't die because he's got to be the originator of the rule of two. You could say that Darth Bane's like, yo, I need to prevent that havoc that happened with Nihilus, the Old Republic, the Jedi Sith Wars. This is out of control. I'm creating the rule of two at this point. He could be the sole survivor at the end of an Old Republic trilogy. Let's say Revan and the Republic Army defeat all the Sith. And, you know, everyone, I do want to see this fight in live action. I want to see Nihilus and Revan fight in a lightsaber duel. Basically, the greatest Sith/Jedi versus the most, basically a black hole.
Well, here's a good question, Dylan. Well, actually, here's a good, fun fact when it comes to not only filmmaking, but video game stuff. Did you not know that when the reason they couldn't, why, oh God, I hate writers when it comes to time skips, 10,000 years in the mountains. I will just use that saying because that's exactly the time period stupid writers had to use for the Old Republic because they weren't allowed to touch the prequel timeline or anything about it because Lucas hammered down the law. Even in the old Legends continuity, we were only allowed to vaguely, from what we understand, the fan fiction writers, or to legalize, as I would say it, the writers of the old Legends vaguely touched upon it. The good thing about Old Republic was you gave us a massive time. Actually, it's too big of a time period to use to kind of flesh out.
Goes around
go around the find a loophole.
It's like 2,000 years of shit going on.
Yeah, that people could use to make more content to do that. But again, it goes to the power of George Lucas that people kind of forget that the reason the Old Republic MMO and the Old Republic time period ends proves that, you know, Lucas is sat on the rights way too hard, thus leading to why the problems of Jar Jar Binks, which I swear to God, episode 1 is a trap. It is. It's a marketing ploy. If you look at it, how much stupid stuff is there for that toys came out of that movie?
Oh, I remember when those movies first came out, and I remember on TV as the prequels came out. I mean, and especially in Walmart, my local Walmart. I mean, they were flooded with Star Wars advertisements and toys. And comparatively now, where like
I would see those too because of the
Star Wars toys they make these days.
The prequels, episode 1 was just generator a massive thing. Now, here's another thing: if you take episode 1 and you take out all that marketing jump, the Jar Jar Binks and all the other stuff that you saw, and you strictly base it to what we kind of want lore, how much of the film is cut?
Yeah, they do. They leave out a lot of stuff that they could have potentially opened up to. I mean, you could have not only showed us what's coming, yes, and actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say like 60% of the film is left, and that's still a huge portion of the film that's gone. I just think like between the political stuff where they're trying to capture Padme to get her to sign this treaty for the Trade Federation, the Jedi, the conflict with Jedi and Maul, things like that. I mean, I'm trying to like leave out things like pod racing. I mean, I love pod racing, but that's clearly something that was
a side gig.
This is something that made older people who took Star Wars seriously very mad about episode 1. It's why it's the most biggest polarizing part, and why 1 and 2 are considered like, you know, the black sheep of the family. We just like, we leave it alone because George Lucas literally needs to work in a team because he focused a lot on selling money and stuff like that. I mean, look how many video games came out, like Pod Racing, the video game.
Oh, yeah.
Why was that made?
Jedi Power Battles.
Because of that. Well, the Power Battles, I give the exception for because I could play as any Jedi I liked. Because
no, I didn't say that's a bad thing. I just know that's one of the, but it's one of the fucking hardest for episode 1.
Because you get to take all these new Jedi that were introduced and play basically as any one of them.
Yeah, Mace had a blue lightsaber in the game, but he says, "Nah, on screen, you give me a purple one, brother."
It's Samuel Jackson. What do you expect? Of course he's gonna get that power.
Samuel Jackson. That's what I expect.
Yeah, but he's the most, and Keo knows I've said this on a card. Like, even though Mace is a hypocrite, Mace would have been one of the better teachers for Anakin.
Oh, absolutely. He would have I feel like one of the issues with Anakin when he
needed a father, if anything.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan was more of a brother type who was very lenient on his erratic actions and loose cannon behavior. And Mace Windu would have been a drill sergeant for that kid, and he would have pounded in the
Jedi code. Episode 2, jumping off of the thing. I hate when he does that.
Yeah, but give Anakin this. He does what is called shock and awe tactics, and that's how he won when has he ever lost in the Clone Wars? Let's be real, he's never lost a battle. That's why he became the hero of the Republic. Every time he went in with his 501st Legion, the droids didn't even have time to prepare. He just went in and just said, nope. I do like the bridge part, though, in the season 7 of the Clone Wars, where he's taught him and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's like telling him, Anakin, we could just, and Anakin's like, I got this. I'm gonna stand right in the middle of the street where all those tanks and all that are. I'm gonna say, can you please surrender? And the droid is like, why don't you surrender? And he's like, I will surrender. Okay. And the droid was like, go get him. Then the commander droid comes and smacks him. He's like, that's a trick, you idiot. And they're like, open fire. And then all the damn clones just come out as jet troopers. They were like, oh, nope, they're fired first. Blow them all to hell.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan was like,
it's a serious war crime, okay? Saying you surrender and then attacking in force. Like, but we let it go because it's Star Wars.
Well, the thing was, I don't know if anybody's ever watched this channel called Russian Badger. He made a joke about Star Wars. He was like, Star Wars, especially the prequels, the Clone Wars, it's World War II met the slave era. And this is how I'm going to explain it. The droids are slaves to the Federation. The clones are the slaves to the Republic. So technically, it's two armies of slaves fighting for the betterment of two factions.
That is actually a very good. Now, how much marketing stunt was there stuff in episode 2? I only remember a video game that came out for Game Boy Advance.
I got them extra. I got the Clone Wars. I got I got those games in my. I got
not a lot of marketing.
There was a couple of video games, and I remember toys like that big.
Toys were all big, but I'm referring to like video games and stuff like that.
Oh, video games? Yeah, I'd say I can only name like maybe 3.
There's Jedi Starfighter, Bounty Hunter.
I didn't even think of Bounty Hunter.
The first Clone War, Droid Army, the standalone Attack of the Clones game, and then there's just one before the show. It's just called Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and it just shows like all the clones on the front charging into battle. But that was like a PS2 and an Xbox game. Then once Revenge of the Sith came out, it's funny how we only got the same game across all the platforms, but they were all different.
They all had different variations to flesh it out a little bit.
And then what the multimedia did. What happened this Christmas that passed? My brother's friends says, I could whoop your brother's ass in Revenge of the Sith. All you saw was an exorcist head turn like, excuse me?
I'm going to explain this. I'm going to disavow the behind-the-scenes story of what I said when I heard that. Let's just say he missed out. The Emperor JohnKill missed out on his own marketing ploy time.
Yo, my brother forgot to place bets on everybody because they were like, "Oh, we can bet some money." I'm like, "You should have bet money. You could have left with $1,000 that night."
John missed his own marketing ploy moment.
I was drinking too. You would think I would be kind of not in control of the fight, and I'm just looking. I'm like, "Can you get like all of them are sitting forward in their chair? You know how when you get serious, you sit forward and you start." My brother's looking at me, and they all look. I shattered his friend's morale because I'm looking back. I'm just laid back, not even pressing the controller hard, but I'm doing all these moves. I'm like, come on now. I'm half drunk. My drunk is starting to come down. You guys aren't even making a challenge. And he was like, give me this damn controller. Another 5 rounds. I was like, okay, let's go. And then he was like, you know what? I'm going outside to smoke a cigarette. I'm done. That's what they said. They were like, we're done.
Funny fact. Now, again, let's look at the marketing ploy of Revenge of the Sith. That's where it took off because you had a bunch of figures, which you should have. I mean, let's give me the burnt different versions of like, Anakin where he falls before and all this other stuff and stuff. There were a bunch of figures during that time, but a lot less of other media. It wasn't until that time period when I'm going to shoot myself for saying this because I wanted to shoot myself when that movie was made. The Clone Wars animated movie where Ahsoka appears.
The first 2000, because it's funny is she
that was in 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was the lead up, everyone, to the Clone Wars TV show. That's the thing.
That was the first 4 episodes put in movie format. That was admitted that those are just 4 episodes put together in a movie's format because each episode runs about 30 minutes.
Because they wanted to find out. And again, this falls back to what happened in the 90s with the re-release, and apart from almost not ever having Star Wars again, because we were this close to never having Star Wars again because of stupid Fox Entertainment. See if there was still interest, because remember, by that point, we had the fiasco of the prequels had died down, comparing 1 and 2 to 3. So people were like, and so the studio's like, okay, let's test them and give them this animated movie, and if it works, we'll give them the Clone Wars TV show that they kind of wanted to flesh out from episode 2 to 3.
But what's funny was, even if they said they weren't going to do it, when they signed with Cartoon Network was like, no, you're making the show. You give
Cartoon Network. I'm sorry, Cartoon Network is they're dead now. Basically, the good part of them now, they're just stupidly barely breathing. Back then, they're like, "Give me money." Oh wait, you gave me a good contract. Nope, you can't get out. We have a contract saying 8 years, 8 seasons. No bailing out now.
It's like, I'm like, but then they moved it to Adult Swim, and I'm like, after I was like, wait, why? But then when it was the Darth Maul season, because at first I didn't dig the Clone Wars at first. I would watch it after. But then when I saw the trailer for seeing it says somebody returns, and I'm like, wait, who? And then when I saw Maul's face and he says, I'll have my revenge, I was like, get the fuck out of here. Maul?
That was the good thing of moving it to Adult Swim, because the writers could take it to the darker, more darker tone.
Savage Opress headbutts that Jedi with his horns and like impales her on his horns before he stabs her.
Yeah, you see impalements with lightsabers in the show and everything. So I was like, okay, they moved it to Adult Swim for a reason, because I think, what was it? Anakin sliced off he wasn't having it, and he sliced off a dude's arm.
Hey, what's up with arm cutting in every Star? They stopped the arm cutting in the new Star Wars films. Damn it! Everybody loses an arm in every Star Wars film.
Well, technically,
that was a bit of a trope.
If you're not a Skywalker, you don't lose a limb.
But still,
only Skywalkers lose limbs.
I actually really want something like that to happen with Rey. Not necessarily be like losing, and
I would say cut her foot off, because then she kicked in the face with a robot leg.
But I was thinking of something like, I was hoping to see Kylo in that moment in like The Last Jedi where they're both fighting over
the lightsaber. Yeah.
And I could just see Kylo being so enraged that this nobody girl is just so equal in power to him with like no real experience in all of this. And he just lashes out at her. And like,
there's actually an explanation for her power. And it's not her lineage. This is something that comes from the mouth of the Sith Lord Bane himself. His apprentice, we don't know who his current apprentice was in the canon, which, I mean, they're eventually going to probably reveal it to be Darth Zana, but I'll apply Darth Zana's legend thing. When he sensed her, he was like, you're already on par with me, and you're just a victim. What the hell?
He ejected her straight into space.
Yeah, he ejected her straight into space, and she survived immediately.
Well, I said what I said more as like from Kylo's perspective, because I don't know if Kylo has that kind of like knowledge about how those kind of things work. Like, there's a million reasons why Rey is as powerful as she is, and
But I think if you heard it from if you heard it from the mouth of a Sith Lord, you would take it as gospel, because he'd be like, Sith Lords are all about power, and if he says, "Yo, that chick right there, even though she's not trained, if she hits me right, or could hit one of us right, we're done."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what about Luke? Luke only trained for 3 days on Dagobah, and he thinks he was bad enough to take Vader.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
I think between between Empire and Return of the Jedi, I think they said it was like 7 months.
Yeah, after that, but when he first was there.
Training,
that's not that big of a time skip, which is good.
Lightsaber combat experience, it doesn't make sense.
Read Shadows of the Empire. Yeah. It actually makes sense why Vader became the way he was and Luke became the way he was. It's the only good book that it's actually considered the only book tying into that movie.
Okay, if you want to know why Vader, I know Heir to the Empire did it, but if you read the canon version of how Vader becomes the real more cold asshole, he at least did one thing Legends Vader didn't do. He tried to enact the rule of 2. He says, "I'm challenging you for the right to the throne." This was a couple weeks.
What happened to Force Unleashed, everybody? You know, George Lucas himself said that was canonized. I mean, I know we don't like overpowered Star Killer, but whatever happens to that?
Right.
I remember George.
Vader did Star Killer maneuvers in the Obi-Wan show with them ships.
And you know what's funny is I feel like there is a way they could work Star Killer back into canon.
I think you know what it is.
Eject the second game.
It's his Force lightning. You don't want to have somebody that's beyond Palpatine, because then we would look at Palpatine as like, yeah, dude, you are a joke. It's really, I think, the Force lightning that Star Killer does, and the fact that in the Force Unleashed books, like I told you earlier, Palpatine was like, yo, if he hits me directly with the lightning, he could stop my heart. And him, where he's like, Vader is strong, like Vader could take being electrocuted because he's already, he's powerful, even though it's hurting him, he's powerful. Star Killer, we don't know who trained him how to do that thing. He did what Yoda did. He grabs the lightning. Now, I don't know why he had to push himself forward. He could have just threw the lightning the other direction and just boom, Palpatine stab right through the chest, because I doubt you're that fast at that age with a lightsaber, bro. You're going to get hit hard. You might be quick, but you're an old man at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about Star Killer's. It's not so like he's a great like his lightsaber dueling is not overpowered. He has a prequel era style of fighting. He's he's in shape because of training with Vader, so he's got all that.
No, that's not training with Vader. That's because you have a homicidal droid after you.
Oh yeah, that's true. Homicidal droid.
I mean, forgot about the droid.
The training sessions he did have with Vader, though brief, he was able to hold with Vader. But
what kind of droid tries to throw you into a star?
Yeah, every single time, like a droid that's like.
I'll tell you which droid. Chopper.
Oh yeah, Chopper.
Because that droid is a homicidal maniac.
Or HK-47.
Oh yeah, him too. Or IG-11.
Funny enough, that is who.
Chopper. Yeah,
the rebel right now.
Fucking what's it called? Then you go. What's it called? IG-88, the bounty hunter droid. He's another a-hole, and he will kill you. I'm surprised
when droids are given like this killing program, they become really funny.
Like they turn into Terminators.
I think it's because they're just so like crass about, or just so like blunt about just how much of a Terminator they are. Where it's just like, I am going to destroy you.
I felt bad for C-3PO because remember in Attack of the Clones when he got his head knocked off and it was put onto a battle droid body. It was a battle of the personalities. He's like, why am I doing this? And then his voice changed like. And he's like, wait, why did I just say that? Luckily, Kit Fisto didn't slice him. He just force pushed him with a smile. Like, oh, that's cute. All right, at least somebody can come grab his head now.
I'm reminded of how badly Wookiees put back to droids together.
Oh my god.
I think that's what it is. Like, I think like we're just so used to the polite droids that when a droid just comes along being like, I'm going to kill everyone in this room. It's sort of like,
look back.
Because why do you think it's funny? The droids in the prequels almost have no personality. The trooper ones compared to like HK-47s, the ones we just named off, which are just killer.
They kind of did. Like the droids. Okay, Episode 1 droids didn't have personality, but once we start getting to the Clone Wars, they started to have personalities on their own. It's just their voices. I never got the hang of their. I eventually got used to it, but it's their voices don't make me intimidated. Yeah, especially the big ones, like the ones that they use their wrists to shoot, the super battle droids.
Oh yeah,
even their
that's voices, a Terminator knockoff.
Terminator knockoff. If a droid would be a shampoo, the fucking super battle droids would be Head and Shoulders.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's exactly what they look like. Head and Shoulders. And then, let's say, God forbid I play Battlefront 2, you're going to see a big silver can of fucking Head and Shoulders going right at you, going Roger, Roger, boom, 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 boom. Shit.
I'll tell you what, one thing, okay, when it comes to droids, Lucas, I'll give you props. Having the droids say Roger, Roger, when you're in this big, massive killing scene in later movies is kind of funny. Okay, you did good.
Okay, no, wait. I give R2 this. Remember when the two battle droids tried to pick up R2 and he knocked them over and just set them on fire with oil? That was funny. I was like, I give R2 this.
Well, they were like tripping over themselves too.
Well, because I don't care how big you are, oil's gonna knock you unless you're Grievous with the spike feet that you could plant into the ground.
You know what's funny? R2 is the only thing across the entirety of the
That knows everything. Films
that has never gotten a mind wipe.
Yeah, he knows everything. That's the weird part. It happened to C3, but the thing about R2, he's always slick. He saves backup data in memory. He's not dumb. That's why when in the later movies, he knows about the Clone Wars. And then when you get to episode 9, the memory mine he uploaded for C3PO was the Revenge of the Sith memory.
Yeah, but the problem is when I look at the CPU of that, you basically already have killed C3PO.
Yeah, you killed
what made C3PO C3PO. Yeah. And that's the sad thing about droids is they're not only are they a bit of a slave race, it's actually funny because when you look at them, nobody bats an eye on a droid when a droid can just walk up and stab you in the back. Programmed properly.
Funny, yeah.
I'm just saying, Sith Lords, the Obsidian game proved that. Oh, it's a worker. We just destroyed a
progress ship. Would have questioned Anakin at some point, just like, hey, what's that kid doing with all those? That slave doing with all those droid parts? You think he's making a droid? You wouldn't think he might program that thing to just go Terminator on all of us, right? Because we have his mom and him as slaves, and we treat him kind of badly.
Yeah, nobody's gonna question droids. Nobody at all. Like they make the perfect assassins, as we found out in much later video games and works.
Well, what did you consider? I like when somebody in the comic books tried to call Darth Vader a droid, like the dude that helped Palpatine design the suit. He tried to shut Vader off with a remote. He kind of did, but the dude shit himself because Vader was like, "You think that remote's gonna put me down?" He used the Force to move his body and reactivate the suit, and he snapped the dude's name. He's like, that's the dude called Vader a droid to his face, and I was like, you fucked up. You just fucked up right there. Any second now, he's gonna get you. You better just start. You better run, or nope. You're a guy you're an Imperial. You're an Imperial with an eye patch and a bald head. Yeah, you're gonna get stabbed right in the chest right now. You're going down, unless you're Tarkin.
Oh yeah, it's funny how when you look at Episode 4 or New Hope, what is Vader in that movie?
He's the
boogeyman.
Yeah, the boogeyman, enforcer boogeyman. Tarkin, you would think Tarkin. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people thought that Tarkin was the leader, but then in the movie, he flat out says, I think they mentioned the Emperor once. They only mentioned the Emperor once in the meeting. Other than that, you don't hear from him again. So you assume that maybe this guy is second in charge behind Palpatine when really
nobody cares about Alderaan. Nobody cares that Alderaan got blown up.
I kind of care a little bit more now that I've watched Kenobi because I actually get to see the planet.
And what's funny is it looks the way Alderaan looks. That's a direct recreation of Alderaan from the Old Republic cutscenes.
Oh, really?
From the MMO. It looks just like when the Sith raid it and they have the big battle there in the cutscenes. I'm like, that looks just like Alderaan. It's funny how the present Sith blows up Alderaan, but the old Sith showed Alderaan mercy. They were like, look, we're just going to blow up maybe 1 or 2 cities. You submit to us. Just let us establish a government. And you guys could just live in basically what we called Star Wars housing. So I was like, yeah, you know what? Palpatine, you blow stuff up. At least your peers. And the sad part is when ancient Sith ghosts call you a pathetic incarnation of the Sith, that tells you something. Ancient Sith don't even like, their spirits don't even like Palpatine. They're like, you're a disgrace. You're using our power like toys.
Off the mic.
Yeah, you're using our powers like toys. Give us somebody who's more,
oh crap, Vader's in here. Let's run.
No, they didn't fear Vader either. Now,
I'm referring to when he went to go meet Padme and just killed all the, Jedi because they're zealots. Jedi are zealots. And
they're zealots. I mean, but the Sith are kind of like zealots too. And like when Vader in the comic books finally tried to enact the Sith rule of 2, saying, "Okay, Master, you haven't been doing shit. I'm gonna have to fight you now." Vader went across the space to get to Exegol to fight Palpatine. Palpatine this whole time is just walking around. I'm like, no wonder Sith call you a disgrace. You're supposed to fight. It's a duel. You're actually supposed to leave out the Force. That's another thing about the Sith challenge. You need to do this through superior blade work.
You can't die of old age. That's what pissed Bane off.
That's what, this guy, you wanted to die of old age or live immortal, and that's what also pissed off Bane's spirit. Bane was like, man, you can disgrace.
Here's a second question. Well, actually, whatever. Just forgot about it. Oh, because Rainstorm just hit.
Yeah, that's happening. That's going to be here in a little while.
Add on to what we were talking about just now, like I think that's what's sort of the biggest failure about Palpatine's Sith Order is he's technically cheating the entire time he has no intention of really following the rules, because the rules state, the master teaches the apprentice everything they know while they're still young. The apprentice uses that knowledge to surpass the teacher, kills the teacher, establishes themselves as the master, and then takes on an apprentice.
And what he did, it was funny, what he did with Vader, he's never taught Vader. That's the thing. He never taught Vader. Vader taught himself.
And that's the thing. But there's that, and there's also the fact that Palpatine puts in contingency plans to make sure Vader can't kill Palpatine, because he makes his suit susceptible to lightning and all of this other stuff.
That's the only thing that makes Palpatine interesting is how many plans this guy has. How many plans do you freaking have? Contingency plans. Plan B failed. Plan C. What? Plan G? I didn't know there was a plan G.
It's called the Final Order.
All right, here. That's what I remember. It was talking about the Jedi zealotry. Who do you think is more evil, the Jedi Order? And I'm just going to fall back all the way to the Old Republic with Revan, who's not afraid to mind wipe, kill someone, and identity death them, basically, or the Sith, who just flat out come at you and just like, come at me, bro, and just use a little bit of here. Who's more? And then after they mind wipe and identity death you, they bury the techniques. Like, no one can know about this. This never happened to anybody. This never happened.
And technically, the person that wiped your mind is the person you end up sleeping with later.
Oh God.
Because it was Bastila that wiped his mind, and then I'm like, dude, you're boning her later.
It's a woman. That's the man's every Achilles heel.
That is true. I think if I was in Revan's shoes, and I was like, I just saved the galaxy from my ex-apprentice, redeemed myself. Y'all wiped my mind. I'm breaking the code. Let's go, Bastila. Fuck y'all. I'm breaking the code.
That's technically what he did. It was stated that, in the whatever.
But the Jedi allowed it.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want to mess with him. He fixed it.
Look, he could kill every one of us right now at his natural power. But he's not allowed to pass, because what he wanted to do, he wanted to establish a teaching to be like, you can have the balance with showing emotion, because Luke did it. You can have a balance with both love and all that. It could be a motivating factor, because in a way, it's not that you're loving a person, you're loving an aspect that was created through the living force, which is another.
What happened to Mara Jade, everyone? Luke came overpowered because of Mara Jade.
You continue that. I need to see why my dog's barking.
What the heck? Oh, yeah.
So how are
that's why I would say the Jedi Order is more evil when you look at them through all the media works, video games. If we X out books, I'd say they're a little bit more evil than the Order, which is why Vader probably took it into consideration. I'm going to erase everything about the Jedi Order. If you're going to build everything from the new, you do not need to know what these people did. Otherwise, you're just going to repeat the same damn cycle, and we're having another social one.
And I feel like that sort of that does play well into like things that happen in the Book of Boba Fett, where they go into Luke's new Jedi Academy, because he's sort of building everything from scratch, and he doesn't. I mean, there are some scraps of knowledge that have still survived, but he's mostly just going on his own interpretation of things.
And it's not teachings; it's just powers. It's not like he kept any of the teachings around. Vader probably went around saying, nope, any of your ideologies, I am erasing. I saw what they did to me as a child. I was ostracized. Because when you really think about it, the Jedi Order hated Anakin because they're that zealous. Jedi are not afraid of kidnapping everyone. They kidnap young children. I mean, let's just say that. Yeah, they're portrayed as the good guys. Sith don't kidnap children. They're just like, hey, you want a lightsaber? You want to have a lightsaber? Come with me. Yep, parent, we're just taking your kid. Don't worry. She'll become overpowered and conquer the galaxy. And she'll come back and get you. Yeah, it's also evil that the Jedi won't allow him to go see his mother, even though he knows his mother is alive.
That too, and it also sort of makes that weird situation. It's like, why didn't Padme go back and buy Shmi Skywalker and then free her?
Oh yeah, well, so that thing.
We'll think about this.
But yeah, that's another thing why there's too much big of a gap. I mean, like I got the hot for Padme, but she's older than me a little bit. But hey, though she's filthy rich, she could have done that to you before that. But then again, they will. If you think about it, if the Jedi had allowed,
can we stop the presses real quick? I just got doxed another pizza.
damn it.
I got a receipt too.
Receipts.
Yeah, hold up. Let me...
we're live.
I just removed myself. Hold on.
We'll talk about that later. Let's still continue on bashing the Jedi Order, because I was just pointing out the Jedi are more evil. Because look at it, they wouldn't let and Dylan just pointed out they wouldn't let Padme buy Smee. I mean, that's evil. That could have been avoided the whole tragedy with the Tusken Raiders. Although who gives a care? Tusken Raiders
was a very serious step towards his dark side, and frankly, you would think that whole situation would have led to an immediate termination with his relationship with Padme when he straight up admitted he wiped out an entire
children,
village, including women and children.
I killed women and children.
Just been like, red flag. Yeah, no access to none of this. But she stood with her man, and I mean that. Padme,
no. That doesn't make sense. Their romance was over the course of 5 days.
Yeah.
Most women, when they hear that, nope, sorry, dude. Yep, you kill women and children. I gotta go. Bail.
That under normal circumstances that should have been the case, but apparently, with Padme, she likes a bad boy.
Oh, she's been having to be a goody two-shoe freaking politician most of her life. Maybe she wants some fun being rebellious.
I don't know about the rest of you, but if I was Obi-Wan, I would have been pissed. Where it's he's going to Padme being all and I saw recordings of Anakin killing younglings, and then Padme's just again, and he just goes, "What did you just say?" And then it's just sort of oh yeah, he did this before. Padme, you didn't think that was something you should tell us about? You should have gotten.
Well, what did I wait? Quick question. What did I just miss? Because I had to go. I had to take a phone call outside about this damn.
We were talking about how Padme just kind of avoids the fact that Anakin killed children, and when she sees the holocron, he forgot to tell Obi-Wan that this happened before.
Yeah.
Third film, he's talking about, this is all new experience to him, and he's just I saw Anakin killing younglings, and Padme should have just been again? What do you mean again?
He did it to the Tuskens.
And Obi-Wan go, wait, those weren't humans, were they? And
but you know what's funny is they leave it out the movie. The massacre of the Tuskens was far worse than we expect, and I think it was in the novelization of Attack of the Clones. When Yoda was sensing it, he was able to see through Anakin's eyes with the Force, and he saw that Anakin did an ability that even he can't do, which is Force Fire. When Anakin held his hand out, all the little Tusken kids exploded, they combusted into fire. And he would watch them.
This is the funny thing of the novels.
He watched them run around. He described it as watching them run around, and as they fumbled and got close to him, that's when he beheaded all of the little ones. And then when the adults tried to come, he did another technique where he made their organs explode. When he was trying to force choke them, he just exploded their organs.
Padme, I question your choice of men now.
Man, yeah. Technically, you're a MILF because you're older than him, but shit.
Are those books still canon?
Yes.
The novelizations of the films are not the earlier offshoots of the films where they try to add stuff in. No, the main movie version.
You were talking about with Anakin setting little children on fire.
Oh yeah, no, that's
still canon.
Yes, it's not shown, but he's done it. And mind you, Force Fire, Palpatine can't even do it. So if Anakin could do it at Episode 2 when angry, God forbid what he would have done if he didn't lose his limbs to Palpatine.
If you were to tell me that was a part of Legends, I would have been I got to tell you, Disney making that call to just be that we're not acknowledging that as canon anymore.
Well, it was. No,
that still pisses me off. I'm sorry. That they said, 30 years of hardworking writers, even if they're fan fiction too. Out the window.
That scene was Legends. But then since it's part of the canonized book because they took some of the books and they at least the books based on the film, since they don't contradict the stuff that
Hey everyone, how do you think Obi-Wan will react when he finds out that holocron on Tatooine, everyone? Finds out some Tusken stories. After years he sits there.
He's probably I thought what I saw in the Jedi recordings was bad. Nah, I think them kids got it easy because he ended it quick with a hit. those Tuskens suffered. Like, they blew up into one flames.
Their origins. We need to have a parent-teacher council meeting, please. You need to be careful if your daughter has homicidal tendencies.
Wait, what?
She's hanging out with a bad crowd.
This, like, that's what like had me, because I'm like Obi-Wan, he did something we never thought he'd do. That motherfucker sent a boulder barrage at Vader.
Well, I mean, he killed children, so I think, getting a couple boulders to the face is fair game.
Well, it's funny. It takes the TV show to fix that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He killed adults, but also, I like the fact that the "I have failed you" Anakin line that they reference, that was already expanded on in the good PS2 game, where you have the fight there, where they took all the dialogue from the actors that they couldn't put in the film and put it in in there. There's a line where he specifically says, "You didn't kill Anakin. Anakin Skywalker wasn't killed. You killed him." Or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, in the show, when he said that you didn't, like, Vader acknowledged that, he's like, "No, you didn't do it. I did." But the problem is, that's not Vader talking. That's Anakin still talking. So it's like every time you do get through to him, he will listen to you. But if you say something he doesn't want to hear, he retreats right back into Darth Vader. Yeah.
But Darth Vader,
that's kind of shown with Ahsoka. Really, Ahsoka's the only one that
the longest conversation. Until Luke had the longest conversation. Because, I mean, Obi-Wan, they only had a few words and they just they threw blows.
Did you? Oh, wait. Vader's not afraid to do what we just said with younglings to Obi-Wan. Let's drag him through fire. I'm very pissed off.
Yeah, that just shows you
again. I feel like that's fair game for Obi-Wan to pelt him with some boulders, where it's like, you dragged me through the hot coals of fire and you killed children. So boulders to the face,
Yeah, boulders. Just take those boulders. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, Obi-Wan, it's true. He's not a really powerful force wielder. He's a better fighter. But then I think when you isolate yourself and then you just he did what he had to do. That's when we're like, oh shit, okay, he's still the master at the end of the day. He got them both, but Vader was like, fuck them, I'm going right through them bitches.
Here's a good question, Dylan. I actually have noticed something. I brought John up to this too. I said, have you noticed that when you look at the older video games, like the Old Republic and all this stuff from them, their level of magic, let's just say Force Lightning, all these other videos, is high tier. When we go to the normal things, but when we go to the prequel era and anything up, the most they do, their stuff is mundane stuff. Let's use Force Grab. Lightning is very low tier in the days back then, but it's considered high now. Man, what all did you purge, Bane? Or Jedi Order? Why have you hidden those in the archives that no one's allowed to read? Yoda knows about it, because Yoda can live for up to 1,000 years. Or 600 years.
He could, but he died around, I
think he was 900 when he died.
900 something, because he was 800 and
I'm just saying, Yoda lived for a long time. He probably saw some stuff that's why he can do some of the mystical stuff, but not as much.
I remember. You take 20 years. He was 880 at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and 20 years goes by. Basically, he's 900.
Yeah. So I'm just saying. I love how the level of power scaling on the mysticism, lightning and all that stuff, is so high in the Old Republic. And this is why I pointed it out to John and many of the others. But in the modern times, it's low, but they know how to take that stuff that the people back then hated. They did not like Force Grab or any of this stuff, yet apply it to the point where they can just kill you. Let me just force throw this lightsaber and kill 20 people. Oh, yeah. You were going to use lightning? I just did it a lot better than you, a skill that you didn't like. They take all these stupid powers that they thought were high tier and have mastered them to a level that are way more, they're just as deadly as what they had.
Now, here's a controversial topic, Keo, because I know one of my subscribers, Chris Barker, he hates this, but I'm pretty sure maybe Dylan here could explain this. Are you familiar with the World Between Worlds?
Oh, God. We've talked about this before.
Blurry, are you familiar with the World Between Worlds concept?
Vaguely. It has to do with that area that
it's outside the Force.
Yeah, where what's the name of the kid from Rebels? He goes into
Ezra.
that area and he's able to save Ahsoka. Yeah.
It can be utilized as time travel. It's a time travel ability. It's like you need to find a nexus point to access it, but if it works the way it's being described, you could quite literally stop Revenge of the Sith from happening. I mean, I think the Empire would still rise. There would still be an Order 66, but Palpatine would not be as effective without Darth Vader. And if the rebellion or some sort of faction is led by both Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, and the surviving Jedi, it wouldn't become a galactic civil war. It would turn more into a Cold War scenario because it would be a huge standoff. Palpatine would have to constantly be on the move because I think at that point the code would be thrown out the window. We need to assassinate his behind.
You gotta send me that recording of the, that fanfic where they basically took that concept and ran with
it. Yeah, it's like there's a well done. It's like an hour long, and it took the World Between Worlds concept. It's like, what would happen if the Sith Empire from the Old Republic and all the Sith Lords were jettisoned during the Clone Wars era? So you would have not only the Sith Empire, the clones, and the droids. It would be because the Empire ain't gonna give a damn. They're gonna fight both of you at the same time if they have to.
And they also let it so that all the Jedi Order was not killed. So the Jedi Order had to face off against these high tier magic level users from
high tier Sith Lords. Yeah, but the plus side is here's a bad and a plus. Obi-Wan and Padme died within hours of each other in front of Anakin during the attack on Coruscant, but he didn't turn to the dark side. And the clones, obviously, now there's no Palpatine to initiate the order. They're faithful to the Jedi through and through. The way that describes the fan fiction, only the Jedi know where Ahch-To is at. The Sith don't. The Jedi would station on Ahch-To with the cloners because the cloners would be afraid. And the cloners like, look, you ain't got to pay us no more. We're just going to constantly clone you an army. We're just going to keep giving you soldiers and soldiers and soldiers. And this war would last probably just as long as the original Galactic Civil War. It would still be another 20 years, but it would be just like the Old Republic. It would be a huge standoff on who's going to take who. But I guarantee the Sith would take Coruscant again. They would in that situation. But the fact is, I just want to see a battle between all the Sith and the Jedi. Like, if you do an Old Republic movie, I've told Kill this, after you do the opening crawl, whatever the story is being, just zoom down on a planet with two factions of Sith and Jedi in the numbers of the battle of, let's say, Helm's Deep or Pelennor Fields from Lord of the Rings, just going at it right in the middle of a battle zone with their soldiers also fighting. So it's like the troopers will be shooting at the troopers, but they know to leave the lightsaber wielders to their own devices in the middle of a fight.
That is something I've really wanted to see for a very long time. Just a massive Jedi and a massive Sith force like fighting each other, like head to head, and have like these big, giant force wielder battles, like kind of like with Vader versus Obi-Wan in the last episode of the Kenobi series. Yeah. Just to a far grander war zone scale.
I mean, if you did a battle like that, would be the perfect place to introduce who your enemy would be. I would say, if you did an Old Republic movie, open it with the enemy of who's going to be this series. I would say, let's say you have a big battle and the Republic is kind of winning. I would say have either Darth Malgus or somebody show up and just be like, oh, you guys are retreating out of your ships? That's cute. Lightning, boom. Blow them ships right out of the sky.
Yeah.
So, but back to the World Between Worlds concept so you can tell Dylan about how it's done. I just wanted to tell you that if time travel, someone had theorized and done that, but tell them how it would be utilized in films if they did it.
It should be utilized. You should have Ahsoka go into the World Between Worlds. She's the only living person that is left. Send her to the moment that Anakin was in the Jedi Temple contemplating what he was going to do during that sunset. Because you would think with the Force, he would see that she's older. He'd be like, this can't be real. And I'm pretty sure there's a Force ability where she could show him everything in his mind, therefore preventing this problem. I mean, the Empire, again, I still would say would rise, but I think if the siege on the temple would happen, the 501st would have a hard time. Who are they going to obey? Palpatine or Anakin? Even with the chips, who are they going to obey?
The 501st would only obey Anakin. That's a damn given. But the rest of them, not so.
I think the 501st would probably be the first legion that would turn against Palpatine's rise. And at least the Jedi would have a battalion, at least a mini army. Because the 501st is just one battalion of how many?
Well,
so they would at least have an army.
The 501st have inhibitor chips?
They did, but it's also, even after a while, when the chips do wear off, they feel regret for what they did. They didn't want to do it. It's just the chips forced them to do it. But when morality, because you see it in Bad Batch, when it comes to their morality and the chip is still active, your morality can override the chip.
But here's the funny caveat to it, Anakin was always different compared to the Jedi. Anakin saw them as people. His troops. Yeah,
he
called them as people. He had them names. Jedi said, "Oh, Soldier 105, go die." They didn't care. Obi-Wan sort of had that because
he was friends with the 212 because of Cody.
Yeah, but that was because Cody was already friends with Anakin, and Anakin had introduced, that one had introduced Obi-Wan to that line of thinking. The other Jedi don't give a crap. That's why they're loyal, because Anakin treats him like a person, not an object.
Yeah. Now you could argue that in the Clone Wars, when in the final season, when we do see in the last few episodes, we do see like a rendition of Revenge of the Sith. Like we see the stuff that's happening outside the movie. When the clones did have to enact 66 and Ahsoka was with part of the 501st Legion, Rex, even though Rex did open fire at her, he was struggling to hold himself back. He's like, I'm not going to do this. There's no way in hell. Yeah. I ain't tolerating this.
Here's the second thing. They probably were trying to disobey orders, so that's where the little stunt came in. Stormtroopers can't aim.
Because there you go. Palpatine removed the clones because eventually the clones do have a sense of morality to them, and they knew this. So imagine you would have your whole army probably turn right at you. Granted, you could probably deal with them because they're just clones, but that's why he eliminated the clones entirely, like just stopped their production, and he'd rather have the numbers than have the superiority.
Palpatine just initiated the draft, everyone. That's all he did. He just initiated the draft on a global scale.
He pulled a George Bush.
Can you guys hold on for a sec? I gotta plug in my laptop, otherwise it's gonna die, and I don't want to miss out on the conversation.
That's all good.
It's all good.
I'm actually checking all my stuff right now, and I'm looking out the window. It was getting dark as hell. There's rain for days coming. I can't believe it. I can't believe another fucking pizza came to my house.
Talk about that later.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, Star Wars is a series. This is very much of an enigma, I would say. I like the fact that they're in TV show format, but as I told John, I'm kind of a bit burnt out on Star Wars because, and just like the MCU, you keep cranking it out so much, people are going to get a little burnt out. I agree. You should. I mean, the reason Star Wars had such a big boom was because of the prequel thing, and then they died. They stopped the prequel movies and stuff, and they just gave you like TV shows here or there. They switched to the TV show format, which works.
Am I the only one that subscribes to the fact that the prequels actually should have started with Anakin being much closer to Luke's age than being a kid?
That would have made it worse because of how zealous the Jedi are. He's too old. We can't train him.
That's the thing. But I think the circumstances would still happen that would force them to take him.
Jedi are zealots. They're religious zealots.
What about Qui-Gon? Qui-Gon said, I don't care what y'all say. I'm going to teach him anyway.
Yeah, but then Qui-Gon dies, and the only reason that interfered with morality was because Obi-Wan had already been introduced to that line of thinking. Because remember, Obi-Wan questions him in the first one. Dude, you're Jedi. Why are you staying as a knight? You could be a master on the thing anytime.
Qui-Gon is a master. He's just not on the council, but he is a Jedi master.
But you know what I mean, on the council. And Obi-Wan's like, why? You've got that rank. And that's what Qui-Gon was the one that introduced the line of thinking to Obi-Wan, basically. Question. Don't jump. You know what I mean?
I think, but the reason why I think Anakin should have been much closer to Luke's age, like at least you should have made probably Anakin 19 years old, because then you could have started the relationship with him and Pat, like as friends. You could have had them show that there was something going to happen, and then in part 2 it goes full-fledged. And now that it doesn't matter of Anakin's age, it's his power. His power, he will learn extremely quickly. He'll basically be the same.
Oh, that's it. That's it. I just figured it out. The reason Padme's attracted to him because she wants men of power.
Damn.
Well, I kind of agree with that. I think that Anakin, as should have been a little bit older. Like if he was
probably
like, let's say we stick him at 15.
15. Yeah, there you go. And he could
Padme
probably
at the time was like 14 or 15 at the same time. So apparently, even though, Natalie Portman looked like a 20-year-old, she was almost as big as the other adult actors, which, when you have someone that looks like that, and then you have someone that looks like a 9-year-old, and you're setting them up in a relationship of some kind, it comes off as a little bit weird.
I would say the only person...
It's questionable in today's society.
If it wasn't Natalie Portman that did the role, believe it or not, my only other person who I would say should have been Padme was the chick that plays Elizabeth in Pirates of the Caribbean.
She was actually in the movie, though.
She was? Wait, she was?
Yeah, she was one of the...
Keira Knightley?
Yeah, Keira Knightley was one of the Queen's double gamers.
Damn.
Yeah, the one who got killed off in the very beginning.
No, that's not her, because I watched Attack of the Clones recently. That's not her.
Oh, wait, my bad. I'm sorry, I forgot. It was... we're talking Phantom Menace here. Yeah, that probably would be her.
And I mean, I like Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman, like, especially in Attack of the Clones when she's wearing that skin tight battle outfit at the Coliseum. But something about Keira Knightley, she would have genuinely had the sex appeal without it being put onto her. Because even as Elizabeth, especially in the second one when she's trying to pretend
even those big floofy dresses, she's fine as
hell. I'm speaking of big floofy dresses, to make Natalie Portman more sexier, didn't you notice in number 2 they slowly removed that layer of how much clothing she was wearing? Come to Tatooine, she is wearing a lot less compared to on Naboo.
Yeah, it's like they want to take all. I get it. It's different cultures, different cultures in space. They'll obviously look different. I just thought the Queen's was a little. I'm like, all right, you know what? I can buy her clothing against people who have elongated heads.
Well, what I was getting back to earlier, though, with Anakin's age, is you bump his age up. It makes the matching of those two work a little bit better, and then even though it sort of harkens to Luke's situation where he joins the Jedi Order as he starts his training as a Jedi at a much older age than the Jedi usually take kids in. But it also makes more sense, like logically, with the transition of things, because Anakin's going into this like militant religious order as the Jedi at 9, at the most impressionable years of his life, he goes from that to the next movie at like 18. That's half his life spent in this religious, military-like order, but he's still a loose cannon. But if you bump him up to like 15 or 16 and then have him go into the next movie as a 19-year-old, that's only 3 years, and that's far more significantly. That's a far significant less amount of time. But I think
it's because
more justifiable.
When you do the math, he was turned into Darth Vader at the age of 22. So it has to, they have to bump it a little bit, because I think he was 32. Yeah, he was 32 when he fought Obi-Wan again in this show. And then another 9 years, he's pushing his 40s when he sees Luke again. Then I think another year or two passes during the Galactic Civil War between the Rebellion and the Emperor. So I think he's about 42 when he throws Palpatine over the ledge.
No, they're overzealous cult, Keith. What have I told you?
The Jedi Order is a cult. But it's funny how the original Jedi Order was more laxed than the militant one.
Yeah.
Well, why is it that I think the Sith have it way more better than the Jedi Order, because you're just not constantly, I don't know, we don't kidnap mass children.
That's what it is. The Sith are in constant battle, even with themselves. Let's say, because even on their planet, Korriban or Moraban or whatever world they want to continuize the name now, even with the Sith not leaving the planet, they were still having what was called feudalism type wars on their planet. They were still very feudal, and they fought with themselves. They had like a very, what is it? Like the Chinese and the Three Kingdoms type thing going on.
Dynasties?
Huh?
Dynasties?
Yeah, they had basically a dynasty warriors thing going on over there with a little bit of Egyptian, because the architecture of the Sith is very Egyptian. Especially they have pyramids, they have things like that. And now that they're on like a mountain desert world type thing. But when you look at Egypt, they have the Valley of the Kings, which is mountains, and then the rest of the region is sands, oases in certain deserts. And Korriban, before some of the oases and stuff like that went down, it looks more like Egypt, and it's like Egypt as a planet, not like Tatooine, where Tatooine you can say ascended, but Tatooine is just barren.
here's a good question. What did you think of the fight, Dylan? The final fight between Vader and Obi-Wan? Because I point out, John, if you notice, Obi-Wan is a master of defense and Vader is a master of offense. That's why it was such a deadlock in Episode 3, because what happens when an immovable force space is an immovable object? Literally. Now, this one, they're both, Vader has a suit on a little bit, and Obi-Wan was cut off from the Force, which is a Force wound, and gets it back on, which is it's just Zekai boosting. But still, what did you think of the round 2? Because they're both the rematch.
They're height now, yeah.
They're not. They're height.
I really appreciated it, not necessarily for the fight, but for the end game like conversation where they have with each other. But because I really like enjoyed that emotional moment where Obi-Wan finally apologizes. And I know there's like that dialogue that was apparently in other video games. I never saw it, but that's something I really like that they do where, I feel like Lucasfilm understands that their audiences aren't going to watch every single bit of Star Wars media. They're not going to absorb, they're not going to play all the video games. They're not going to watch.
No, just play Revenge of the Sith. That's what I'm just saying. It expands upon that one dialogue because you have Hayden, both the original actors in that game. And they just say the lines that were cut out from the film. That's all you have to do, audience. Just play the Revenge of the Sith, go emulate it or whatever, and get to the final fight. You'll see lines that weren't in the movie.
And according to you and everybody else, Keo, it's a godsend that game doesn't have online, because if that were to happen, I would be racking up fucking monetization.
But yes, go back to you were saying. I was just going to point out, they had them lines.
I really appreciated those lines. It definitely hit like a really nice emotional impact for me. But in regards to the fight, I thought it was, really intense, really well done. Something that like only now when I'm older and more grumpy, apparently, when it comes to like the prequel fights, they're like, at least for the final fight between Anakin and Vader, on Mustafar, it was very repetitive. It was very, left, right spin. And they did a couple of tricks here and there, but the fighting was very repetitive. And I feel like what Lucasfilm has been doing recently with lightsaber fights, it's a lot more gritty and in your face, and they're really going at it with each other in their lightsaber fights. So I really appreciated that, but they still had that feeling of prequel era style. Because
it's the original actors, they're just basically going at you like they did back how many years ago. But it's rusty, so it makes it better.
It does, it actually does, because the thing about it's like, you remember that, what was that? You know how they did that remake footage where it remade the Death Star fight between Obi-Wan and Vader?
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of, just without being in the Death Star, but it's very much like that. It's like, okay, you could see these two definitely will go at it. And it was something, like I said, I brought up earlier, where people criticize how lightsabers work in Disney. I'm like, one, there's multiple power phases within a lightsaber that's explained. And two, Vader's armor is made of Durasteel. He could take a hit like that and still keep coming.
Actually, I want to point out something. This would be funny for you, Dylan, which I find it funny. And I told John about this too. In Empire Strikes Back, when it comes to Vader, Luke's already been mildly, how many days trained with Yoda, the Zealot. Did you notice that at the very beginning of that fight, he is not taking Luke seriously? It's just bad. But once he hits his shoulder, it's just he pauses for a second, looks, speed, and he actually
snarls at him.
But because no one we see that
in a long time has been able to hurt him,
had hurt him. It's like, and that's like a moment of he knows it's his son by then. It's like, oh my God, my son can hurt me. And he gets that thrill of battle that he hasn't had in a while because he just got hurt. I mean, I'm sorry.
A lot of things people don't know about Vader is Luke found a lot of like Vader's old recordings, like not a holocron, but Vader did things that was very similar. Like he recorded some stuff, and he stated that he wasn't going to take Luke to the Emperor. He was going to hide him, train him, and then they were going to jump him.
Yeah.
And Vader
I kind of felt like that was the situation, because wasn't the conversation between Luke and Vader basically be like, join me and together we'll rule the galaxy as father and son. And
Vader would have at that point, because he was saying more of that out of impulse, because he was just you can't see it in his face. Obviously, he's wearing the mask, he looks angry when he's looking at his son, but in his mind, that's the first time he's feeling joy, but he doesn't realize that he's kind of putting his son through a strain right there.
And also, think about it. Vader, even as a kid, back to Anakin after episode 1, never really got any kind of parenting at all. Or he just got stuck into a cult. The closest thing he had to a familiar relationship was platonic, whatever you call it, Padme, and the brotherly figure, person that helped raise him as a brother, Obi-Wan. That's a very small person to develop any kind of relationship, even as a child, when you're developing mentally. Just have a brotherly figure there, no parental figures. No wonder you jump off a speeder in episode 2. And the one brother goes, I hate when he does that.
And because but Obi-Wan's not innocent because he's done crazy maneuvers too. But then he has that look where he's like, I didn't know. What are you talking about? I don't know nothing about that business on Cato Nemoria.
But yes, it can be very much said that why Vader in Empire Strikes Back is that way is he's had a warped, twisted kind of. And then you're stuck how many years in a suit with an asshole Palpatine?
19
in your
years,
20s?
Stuck.
Yeah, that would mess up anybody's mind to a degree. So you wouldn't know what parenting is at all.
Or there's another circumstance where Revenge of the Sith could be prevented without time travel. Obi-Wan not showing up.
Oh, God. That's just wrong timing, bad timing, Obi-Wan. They're in the middle of a very emotional, marriageable conflict, and you just pop up.
Which, if we know Anakin, if he sees in his eyes that he's hurting Padme, knowing Padme, she probably would have just left. But if I think I have an idea of where she would go, Anakin would follow. He would be like, where she's going. Look, I need to talk to you. The smartest thing to do would have for her to lead him back to Naboo, to the place they first got engaged. That would have definitely snapped his ass into some sense. And he would have been like, oh, hell, what did I just do? Then imagine that he contacts, if he did that, I believe he would contact Obi-Wan and be like, look, you could be pissed off at me, but we need to go back and we need to go deal with this. Because I think together, Obi-Wan and Anakin, that's another thing Palpatine fears. If those two were to team up on him, no matter how strong Palpatine is, and he might look down at Obi-Wan, but if you have the Master of Attack and the Master of Defense jumping you at the same time, when both of them are letting everything go and they're letting their power rise while you're an old man, yours is going to start depleting. That's why he never wanted to get into no kind of conflicts, because if he fights Anakin, Anakin's just going to get stronger while he gets weaker, because you're just going to – Palpatine likes to talk shit. So Palpatine, the more you toy with Anakin, especially like with Dooku. Do you remember when Dooku first toyed with him in episode 3? That toy cost him his hands.
Mm-hmm. And episode 2.
Oh yeah,
when he's over emotional about Padme already, his emotions are height, and he, for the first time, which I wish it was still a concept, dual wields.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We didn't expect him to be able to dual wield. That's why Dooku backed up a little bit. He said, "Oh shit, this Padawan just backed me up for a second. Let me
cut off an arm."
Cut off an arm. Yeah, you gotta go. You just
It sort of feels like, how would that play out though, fully, when Anakin's already committed to like
the way it is, it's like
in the name of the dark side. He murdered children at the Jedi Order.
Remember what I said? How Yoda and Mace would understand what the prophecy is supposed to be. I think at best they would not be in a position if Anakin, let's say if Anakin reconciled with Padme, if Obi-Wan didn't go to Mustafar and Padme took Anakin, led him off world to Naboo. Naboo's a peaceful place. Naboo, he'll be able to think for a minute. He'll be like, shit, like I said, I messed up. I believe he would contact Obi-Wan and be like, look, and Obi-Wan, would probably snap at him, but he was like, look, I know what I did, but we're going to have to regroup and figure this out. And Obi-Wan be like, you need to meet me on Coruscant then, because Master Yoda's in trouble. And I doubt Palpatine would also be able to deal with a combined effort of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda at the same time, because how the hell is he's not going to be able to isolate the weaker opponent because they're all going to be attacking him. And even if he got exiled, there's really no Jedi left that could stop Anakin anyway besides Yoda. But Yoda would probably listen to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan would be like, look, he might have committed his atrocities.
Just put him in exile. Get his wife and put him in exile.
Yeah. But that really wouldn't mean much because that means you may have exiled him, but what's to stop Anakin from making another lightsaber? Or I doubt they would take his saber from him because he would just make another one. And now he would be free to learn about the Force and its powers without your interference.
And emotionally develop.
Yup. He would have his wife. He would have his kids. Knowing Yoda and Obi-Wan, they would... Huh?
Do you think Padme would stay with him? Like, because this is the second time he's committed mass murder. Like,
well, she already whipped him with the first time, so I'm pretty sure second time's not.
I think if
housewife at this point,
if she got Stockholm syndrome. The only way I could see it working is if let's say if Anakin went to exile, they would probably separate for a little while to let him get himself back to get himself back together.
Yeah, he has to go through marriage counseling, everyone. He has to go through a separation and marriage counseling.
But the fact that his kids would be alive, she would be alive, there would be no threat of the dark side with him. So
a custody battle.
I don't think Padme would keep, because who else would train them? She wouldn't want them to be sent to the Order because she'd be like, oh, well, look at the result. This shit kind of happened because he was in the Order. So she would probably let him be the teacher, or if not, somebody like Yoda would probably teach them in private. Be like, we got to train them because their power can be utilized for the wrong reasons if trained by another. So
I'll be damned. I just noticed something. When we say Ben Kenobi, he gets Ben because he anagrammed his name Kenobi.
Yeah, no. Not only that, Obi-Wan, they revealed that Obi-Wan has he hasn't seen his brother since he was taken away as a kid. And his brother,
if you have it spelled, Kenobi spelled, you take out the, you know what I mean? There's already EN, and you take out the B, and you put it here. It's an anagram.
That's actually the name of his biological brother, Ben. He doesn't know Ben, but he knows the name. Yeah, he knows his name. He just doesn't remember.
That is something I was actually wondering about, because, and I love hearing that because, first of all, with the moment Kenobi said that he believes he had a brother, like when he's trying to remember what his past was like before the Jedi Order. When the moment he said, "I think I had a brother," I was like, "The Kenobi bloodline lives!" Yes, I wanted that.
And that's what the funny thing was, because they didn't put it in the show, but one of the concepts they said that even if something is not said, it exists. It just, the problem with people is they got to see it and hear it to verify its existence.
Yeah.
Seeing is believing, as they like to say.
Well, it's just better to have it like when someone says it than it just to be implied, because it just leaves it to like that ambiguous kind of thing where it's like,
it's ambiguous, yeah.
It leaves it to too much interpretation, and that's what leaves things to get.
And this experience with Leia and Obi-Wan is the reason why she names her son Ben, because she remembered the great man that saved her. Mm-hmm. So she saw him as a great Jedi Knight after that, because at first she kind of was like, since he didn't use his powers, she would doubt, because there would be people that would pose as Jedi. But once he went to the fortress to save her, like I said, his freaking video game training tutorial, he got his skills back.
You notice something? There are only 2 gray Jedi apart in the Jedi Order. That would be no. Let me read it. That was Qui-Gon and basically Obi-Wan after he learned through with Anakin, because he actually kept his emotions. He didn't stop keeping them in check. I mean, come on. How many times has he let those things slip?
That's true. And Obi-Wan always knew that there was something between Anakin and Padme. It's just that he respected Anakin's happiness. He was like, no, if I turn him in, he's going to resent me. I'm going to let him do this because it's what makes him happy, and it's what's making me feel like I'm the good teacher by allowing this.
Exactly. Again, a normal Jedi wouldn't allow that.
I think Qui-Gon wouldn't have cared. Qui-Gon would have probably encouraged that, knowing Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon want them kids. Please get married and have kids already. Please quit dancing around each other.
No, because he'll believe it, because then he'll be like this. The offspring will be insanely powerful. See, Qui-Gon is good. Qui-Gon has such a, what is it? He can see, like we say Palpatine's ahead. No, Qui-Gon can see necessary steps ahead. He just wants those actions to take place.
Well, when you really think about it, buying Anakin was like even a slavery. Yeah, well, why? Slavery's never talked again about, human slavery's never talked again in the films, everyone. It existed in episode 1, but we kind of forget about that concept after that.
We only hear about it again is actually when on a side mission, because in the Empire era, the only thing the Empire had to worry about was the gang organizations, because the gang organizations were were at least the equivalent.
Those are the Hutts, dude. The Hutts always do trafficking.
The Hutts are equivalent
That's like the cartels.
Yeah, they're like a cartel army. So he sent Vader to negotiate with Jabba. And Jabba was talking all his shit. And Vader literally, all he did, Vader was just clamp two hands, and Jabba was like, "What's going on?" Vader's like,
base form talk.
No, but Vader's like this: if you don't talk, I'm inducing cardiac arrest. And then he tried to drop Vader into the freaking thing before it got killed. The Rancor. All Vader did was wave his hands, beast control. He made the thing just sit down, and he just forced open the door and be like, "You want to try that again?" You're lucky I didn't kill it. You're lucky I didn't kill it, and like I didn't kill you because he was given strict orders not to kill because they need the negotiations. It's always negotiations.
Here's the funny thing is I gotta ask you, Dylan, when you saw Rogue One and you heard the Vader theme pop up and Vader kills all them rebels, how amped were you for that scene? Because
so I loved that scene personally. It was just epicness. What's sort of sad though is that is the only Star Wars film I have seen one time, and it's not because I hate the film.
No, it's just I'm just saying the Vader scene it is like the highlight of the whole film because it's always been implied throughout the other movies until Kenobi came out that Vader was a savage. He was.
That was definitely just the purest form of Vader villainy incarnate happening in that scene when he's ripping blasters out of rebels' hands and then just hacking them down, slamming guys up against the ceiling, cutting them down there, and just like working his way towards he was just a Terminator in that moment. It's like, ooh, that's really good.
That was a scene that a lot of the cast didn't even know was filmed. That was added in at the last minute.
That had to be fun. That'd be a fun watch, surprise in theaters.
Because they were like I think behind the scenes, the actors are playing the rebels saying, "Oh, we got together for another scene. They just told us. I guess we're assuming we're running from Imperials and we got to bang on the door." But no one expected that when the light. Well, I think in the camera angle that Vader shows up, they were like, "Oh shit!"
I would love to think that was their natural reaction, where they had no idea, and then the lights were out on the other end of the room, and then they're like turning around, like, "Okay, where's the Imperials?" And then.
They're like, "Oh shit, that's worse."
Oh god!
Because Ewan McGregor, he said the same thing. You know the scene where he's first trying to run from Vader, and then Vader starts launching his attacks in Episode 3 on him. Yeah. He said that when we were filming, and I didn't know when Hayden was supposed to pop out. He says I was just walking, and he says I genuinely shit myself when I turned around and had to block because Vader's huge, and Hayden Christensen himself is a big guy. He doesn't need the stilts like some actors do. He's naturally big in the damn suit.
Yeah, that I'm just saying. Yeah, that is like probably one of the only scenes we ever saw before Kenobi where we find out Vader is a savage when cutting down people. I
actually noticed a key detail that I forgot to mention it. It wasn't just me or Vader was on the backing up and the entire fight in episodes. Usually it's the other way around, but Obi-Wan was just attacking him and attacking
guy boost.
Yeah, he was attacking the shit out of him, like no hesitation. And Vader, I know Vader hits back hard, but damn, he was like, okay. But knowing Vader does like to toy with he wants to toy with Obi-Wan because he wants Obi-Wan at his best. He doesn't want him at his weakest.
That's another one of Vader's flaws is he wants his opponent at his best. Like that's not exactly the best tactical move, dude. Like you're giving someone time to power up.
Basically, Vader has the poorest galactic healthcare plan. I'm gonna say it right now. He's handicapped. He's crippled. He technically needs a blue sticker on his chest plate.
Because he's got something to prove, okay?
Okay, I get it. You know why? Because Mustafar,
so he can feel better about himself.
You know what it was? Mustafar burned his manhood away.
Oh god!
Ouch!
I wouldn't be pissed about burning. I was pissed that my BB got burned off.
Well, why do you think he took it so personally against Obi-Wan?
That's probably true. Why do you think his lightsaber? If you look at Vader's lightsaber. His lightsaber is what is called a dual thick. You notice how his Vader's blade is a lot thicker than other lightsaber blades because he uses.
Oh no! Is he compensating?
Yes, I think he's compensating because it's confirmed that he has what is called a dual phase lightsaber. That's why it looks like that. And then Obi-Wan, you see Obi-Wan looks like a regular lightsaber with the point at the end. Well, no.
They ain't gonna reference what happened with the old man, creepy old man, and
Family Guy. Herbert with the Star Wars parody, the lightsaber went. I can feel the Force now. There you are.
You showed up just in time.
That was bad. I was like, don't do this to me. I was so pissed off that they still didn't do the freaking the 3. How would Stewie be as a small Anakin Skywalker would kill me.
Oh.
Because then who would be Padme? That's the weird part. You can't have it be Lois because that would be fucked up.
Well, I mean, they're already having Lois be Leia and
Peter be Han.
Weird relationship, like that's suddenly Lois is now Chris's sister, and there's still that.
I'm kind of because they're trying to work on what is called the bonus, the Lost Battle of Revenge of the Sith, where I don't know why it's taking them so long, but I guess they want to do it right. They're trying to do a Clone Wars special that's basically an animated style of Revenge of the Sith, but with the voice actors from from the Clone Wars. So they want to have a Clone Wars version of the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight, but they want to put in all the missing bits that weren't in the script, where they were using Force powers, they were chucking boulders at each other.
Well, I tell you about happened in Revenge of the Sith video game. They want to put that in visual format, which, like you said, Dylan, people don't want to read all that. That would be the perfect way to watch it, wouldn't it? It's on TV. It's a special. I mean,
it would be on Disney Plus if anything. Because
I'm just saying. I'm just using.
I would be like this. Give me an animated version of Revenge of the Sith where you can do stuff that the movies, because at the end of the day, it's a movie. Movies, you can only do so much that's physically disbelievable or believable. In animated, you can get away with anything.
Yeah, well, in the animated fight scenes, I mean, they're way more flexible and they're like acrobatic. I mean, just watch any fight with Ahsoka fighting anybody. I mean, she's bending her body in a way that would snap a normal person's spine.
Well, I see why they got Rosario and Dawson to play her.
Yeah.
She got bent by the manager of Well, no, she was the manager. She got bent by her coworker at Movies.
Oh God!
That's something I should not have watched, but I watched a lot of things behind my parents' back, and Clerks 2 was one of them. You don't show a 12-year-old Clerks 1 and 2, and somehow I understood the jokes. I was like, because I was hurt, I would laugh hard, and then I saw obviously I know the Star Wars jokes and the Lord. That's when the debate goes like this. There's only one return, okay, and that's not of the king, but of the Jedi.
Well, I'm kind of like that little girl from that taco shell commercial where it's like, why not both?
Oh God,
that's so bad.
Wait a minute, you guys talk real quick. Oh my God, who's at my door now?
Hello.
Who's at my door?
Maybe he's
but yes,
swatted.
Wouldn't you like to see I say the video game format, that video game put into like animated format? Could you imagine what they also could get away with compared to the prequel movie?
Oh, it'd be incredible.
Because they could do more inhuman jumpings.
Yeah, and when it comes I just want more context for everything. Like anything that adds more context to it, like sign me up immediately. Like anything that adds more context to the prequels, originals, sequels, however they want to do it. And like, especially for those like kind of like the battle scene on Mustafar, to change things up a little bit. But wait, would they use the original audio, or do you think they would get the voice actors from the Clone Wars show for that?
I heard the Clone Wars show people were probably going to do it, people who watched the Clone Wars show would be like, "Oh, it's their voice actors." It's familiarity effect.
No.
But I don't
think I could handle like hearing the voice actors going through that scene where Anakin bursts into flames. That would.
Exactly. Do you know how painful that would be? Because you're so used to seeing them in like the Clone Wars TV show. See that burning scene? Owie.
But I think they would pull some shit where because in the movie it's too quick to where it's like Obi-Wan does. You would think to cut off that many limbs, you have to do maybe 1 or 2 strikes in a certain formation. He just did 1 swipe and just all those limbs came. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. How the hell did 1 swipe?
Well, Vader was inhumanly doing a twist jump.
That's true, yeah. And again,
I'm pretty sure he did 2, but it was in kind of like a fluid motion. So maybe it looks.
I was saying because when you look back at it, because I was watching Revenge of the Sith not that long ago, and it again, and when I look at it, it's like he does when Anakin looks like he's about to hit the ground and finally come in for a hit. Obi-Wan just turns around and does 1 swipe, and then boom, you just see Anakin fall. I was like, but it's funny how in the video game he does like a tri-slice when Anakin comes down to go for the 3 limbs.
But yeah, Dylan just like over here just said, it would be painful hearing the Clone Wars TV actors' voices voice that specific scene.
Yeah, it would be, because the thing is about the Clone Wars is it was far and few in between when you saw Anakin and Obi-Wan disagree on things. This was at the height of them being as close as brothers as you was ever going to get, until you get to the beginning of Revenge of the Sith when you see how fluently they work together.
Oh yeah. Well, the voice actors they were just incredible the entire time.
It's funny how the guy who voiced Obi-Wan, he was in so many other things that I didn't even notice until Keo over here tells me that he was Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean 2, and I'm like, really? Obi-Wan voices the great captain.
And it's Kingdom Hearts 2, not Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
I was like, the movie?
No, James Earl Taylor.
In Kingdom Hearts, he did the voice. I think in only one of in none of the games he didn't do. No, I was wrong. He does the voice work in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, the game, and Dead Man's Chest, where the first game, Legend of Jack Sparrow, was both Johnny Depp and Orlando Bloom did the voices. After that, it was a lot of animated voice actors that worked on Star Wars. They did the voices for the. Oh,
wait a minute! I just remembered something, John. Your favorite Final Fantasy game, James Earl Taylor, was the one who voiced Tidus. It did the horrible laughing scene.
That's true. Yeah. I love Final. Yeah, I forgot that he was Tidus in Final Fantasy X.
That's actually what
talk to me about Final Fantasy X. I ain't getting into that now. Yeah, you're the one, like Key over here. He had to watch me go through, what was it, Kingdom Hearts things, and then I forced him, even though he hates Kingdom Hearts, I forced him to go to Kingdom Hearts 3. I was like, you're playing it. You're taking my role. I did all the other games. You're doing this one.
Which I got to redo again, which will be fun.
Yeah, no, you took half of them off my, what's it called now? You messed up my playlist.
Well, technically you're taking credit for mine, so ha.
Hey, I did all the hard work prior to that. I just thought about something. I want them to do a Star Wars game that's in the vein of Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, the 2 Middle-earth games.
I like the sound of that.
Actually, I just realized something. You want that Shadow of Mordor thing? Make sure you're Vader hunting down the Jedi.
Oh,
the surviving Jedi. There you go. The giant map is you hunting down all Jedi.
But the problem is, I'm pissed off because the company that patented those 2 games, they patent the Nemesis system, so no other video game is allowed to use the Nemesis system. Imagine the Nemesis system in a Star Wars game. How many Jedi and Sith Lords you can piss off that'll come after you or you go after them. I would be having a black list, a black book in my hand, be like, all right, that motherfucker's on that planet. I'm going right over there. Headhunt. I'm adding to the, oh, great. I have a bounty on me. Well, fuck it. I'll deal with the bounty hunter later. Let me just kill this guy right here, right here, right here. That's all I want. Let me be a Jedi hunter. I mean, the Darth Maul game was supposed to be that. I don't know why they canceled it. By my understanding, the game is only half complete. A developer should just freaking get it and finish it.
But if they lost the code, there's the problem.
Then make it again from the ground up. You can do it. Just make a Darth Maul game or make a game where you're a Dark Sith user. I mean, they did it with Starkey. People can say, oh, Starkiller turned on. We killed Jedi. 3 of them, or at least 2 of them. A third one got away. Wait, Keo, didn't we kill? Okay, wait. 2 Jedi die at your hands.
One woman that kidnapped
Shakti and Paraxis.
Yeah.
Shakti and I forgot that Coda didn't die. But at the time when we knocked him out the window, we didn't know if he was alive or not. We just force threw him out of
we cut his eyes out.
I think we cut his eyes out and we throw him from the atmosphere of Cato Nemoria. We threw him down to the planet. How he survived that, I still don't know. That's what I don't know. I still don't know how he survived that, but okay, it's called the Force Unleashed for a reason.
That's why he's in a bar getting drunk, because he got cut off from the Force, basically trying to save himself while landing. So I'm just going to get in a bar drunk.
That's another thing. People are like, oh, Obi-Wan should have never, like, but the guy from Rebels, Kanan, after he lost his eyes, he kind of disconnected himself from the Force, but when he reconnected, he got his eyesight back. Even though he was going to die, he got his eyesight back.
The disconnecting thing has been a thing since, like, I don't know, some of the original games people. I know you don't like them, but people who loved the Old Republic should be aware of it. They put it in the damn game.
It was in the... How did Revan become a loyal soldier afterward? They disconnected him from the Force, but he regained his alignment.
Yeah, everyone's played the Old Republic. Don't deny it. We've all played it at some point or another. So basically,
I play it right now on the Switch. Come on now, I know Old Republic in and out. Except the friggin' what was it? You ruined my perspective on Malik, though. I was like, okay, Malik, this is. But then at the end, when he explains what he wants to do, I was like, you idiot, you're a stupid Sith. Yeah, you need to go. You got to die.
Hey, I'm sorry, I can't help it that I have the opinion of stupid Sith.
Because Malik was the one that created that trope. I just realized a lot of Sith are stupid mentally. They have a good plan. They just can't follow up on it. You need a Sith Lord with a Thanos mentality. That's what you need.
Not only that, but Jedi are zealot cultists.
I think that's sort of the situation with between Jedi and Sith. It's like the Sith aren't great because they're like their pursuit is far more human. Because it's about personal power and using your emotions, things like that. But the way it's structured is it leaves a lot of room for aggressive expansion and
hold on, I got the quote right here. Let me pull it up.
Jedi
so what you're trying to say?
We're going to take you as a small infant and indoctrinate you so that you have no other mindset than what we tell you to have, which is not good.
That's why I like when Luke did his order. He abolished a lot of those. He modified the core rules, but he abolished the parts that he understood were flawed.
All right, here's why we have a problem. Jedi code. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no arrogance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. That's the Jedi code, the Zealots. The Sith code, there is peace. I mean, peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. Which one sounds more human?
The Sith. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier.
But the gray, they got the gray code, and the gray code is the only one that you would think they should abide by after their after the Jedi's destruction.
How many times has the Jedi been burnt to the ground like the Chosen One has done that to them?
They've been burnt to the ground even in the Old Republic. Do you know how many times that Sith temple, or not the temple, the Jedi temple's been destroyed?
Hey, they just keep rebuilding it. They don't learn the lesson.
Here's the thing. I get why they rebuild it, because Krea's temple is beneath it. Darth Krea's, or Kreia, what the fuck she wants to call herself, her Sith Shrine temple is beneath the Jedi. Why do you think when you see the Jedi temple, you notice how it's on top of a giant block with all those towers?
Anybody knows how Anakin built his temple on the top of where he was burnt?
Yep.
That's the pettiness there.
On that spot. That's petty. I mean, that's kind of petty that you torture yourself, burying yourself on that spot. But yeah, when you look at the Jedi temple, you see that big structure at the bottom that looks like a giant square, but all the main Jedi stuff is on top of it. They have the Sith temple blocked off, and the Sith temple, it's where the restricted section is, like the what's it called? What do they call it? The restricted part of the Jedi archives is down there, because that's where they keep all the shit that makes them feel like Sidious said it. He said, "Oh, Vader, do you know how our lightsabers turn red?" He's like, "Not really. The Jedi, hid this idea," and he was like, the fools hid the knowledge that made them feel uncomfortable. Which bleeding a lightsaber crystal is.
That's why Revan became a thing, because he didn't agree with the way they were handling the Mandalorian Wars, and basically he went down there and saw what was going on. I was like, "Ooh, I like this. Now let me go fight some battles."
Seriously. That's Revan. Yeah, that was Revan's ordeal. Revan was like this. Council, the Jedi Council, you guys are pussies. We're gonna go fight the war. Screw y'all. We're gonna go fight the war ourselves. I mean, he got the job done, but the problem is he did it. The thing about Revan is he's also another case. He can use the light and the dark side, but if he uses it too much, it creates two sides. Like he could literally physically split into two beings. But in order for him to gain his full power, he has to be that one person. Because the old Sith Emperor, who Keo hates with a passion. Keo hates the oh yeah, you hate his ass with a passion.
Because he's overpoweredly broken. It makes no sense.
He's the one that I told you, Dylan, that he lived like 4 or 5 centuries longer than he should have doing essence transfer. And he has all these abilities and powers. Basically, he's a Sith hack. He's a hack of the Sith. He's the last Sith pureblood, believe me. He's like the last red species of the Sith.
But that wouldn't make sense, dude. He doesn't have blood anymore. He's body hopping. It's the new blood, everybody. Your blood's no longer pure.
That's true. But I think we wouldn't tell that to his face because he would just look at us and induce cardiac arrest.
Actually, I find that funny that cardiac arrest thing is a thing in the video games.
Yeah,
I love cardiac arrest. They're on the Switch, everyone.
Would just be like, zappy hands.
Oh no, if you play I think it's in Jedi Academy. There's a move that's different than force choke. It's just like when you do it, it looks like they're force choking, but their entire body is like shaking and contorting, and then they drop dead, which means you've just basically fried their organs. I'm like, these powers do get out of hand. Like
now we know why the Sith aren't liked. They use too many of the mystical side.
I'm surprised you didn't know what Anakin did to them poor little Tuskens, blowing them into flames like that. I mean, shit, that was the first time I've ever seen any reaction. I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't know that? Yeah, he blew them the hell up.
Well,
with his hands.
I read the book where it's described from the Tuskens' point of view what he did.
They were shitting themselves.
And so hearing that part, I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit more darker than the book. But the book basically with the Survivor Tusken Archive said, we hate ourselves for doing this. We should never have taken that Skywalker woman.
Yeah, but when Vader went back to Tatooine to also do that thing with Vader, he went in to make that deal with Jabba. Vader went into the desert. Vader did go to the old Loam's Harstead. This is when he was feeling the light pull. If one thing he did still, it was he went to go pay the respects to his wife's grave, and he paid respects to his mother's grave. But Tuskens were trying to go rob the old Lars Houndstead, and right when Vader got there, right when he killed 2 of them, they all started bowing down because they thought he was their god in human form. and then he was like this. Vader was like, "You believe I'm your god, eh?" And then boom, the next panel is just nothing but dismembered Tusken bodies, and he was like this, "You have served your purposes," and he left in his ship. I was like, "Damn!"
He still hates Tusken Raiders.
He just does it. Yeah. He hates.
It's funny how Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan's friends with the Tuskens, basically.
Not really. Oh no, one of them. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I don't mind if they do a season 2 of Obi-Wan, because if they want to bring in Legends continuity, season 2 would be the perfect establishment to bring.
Why do you think they ran off when they saw Obi-Wan coming? They weren't going to take Luke. They're like, oh shit, we know who he is. We're not going to piss off our.
I don't know if you know this, Dylan, but a Tusken Raider was a Jedi during Order 66. And he went back to Tatooine, and this Jedi becomes a future Sith Lord after losing to Obi-Wan on Tatooine because he loses his hand to Obi-Wan.
I do remember seeing like some comic strips that showed someone who was dressed as a Tusken Raider.
He was a Tusken.
Also had like Jedi robes, but if that was like a full-fledged Tusken Raider who was a Jedi, I didn't know that though.
He was a full. He was trained by he's Ki-Adi-Mundi's apprentice, the guy with the elongated head.
Oh yeah.
That's his apprentice. And after the purge, he went to go back to being a Tusken. He was like, I'm just going to make my tribes stronger. I'm on Tatooine. The Empire really don't got much of an influence out here. Mm-hmm. But then when he was causing so much beef with other tribes and all that, Obi-Wan came out and said, yo, you need to chill out because you're bringing this too close to Luke's house, to the Lars homestead. And he's like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to duel you right now into the suns. And Obi-Wan defeated him, and Obi-Wan took his mask off. The Tusken mask, which is basically the greatest dishonor you can do to a Tusken warrior. So when he left Tatooine, he landed on Korriban, and he stood there for the next 10 years training with the Sith ghosts, who were going to teach him. They were like this, we want you to take care of that Sith pretender Palpatine and blah, 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 blah. You kill him, we give you the full rights to be calling yourself the Emperor. And when he came out 2 days after Vader and this guy died on the Death Star. So he was
bad timing.
He was like, yo, really? Because if he came out, it was stated that if he would have went, he could have killed both of them. He would have ended it right there. He really did get that strong. It's just now he had no purpose anymore. He went to the unknown regions, got captured by the Yuuzhan Vong. They tortured him, but he took their technology, made armor, and says, I'm coming back to the galaxy as Darth Krayt.
Hey, why is it that we need to go to unknown regions in one of these TV shows? I mean,
yeah, they need to take us more out there because that shit seems so dangerous out there. It's like, come on, what other planets are out there or civilizations? I don't.
Hey, you want to keep Vader alive? What other
planets out there, and it's the most dangerous planet of all. It's called Earth.
Oh God, that'd be horrible. That'd be funny if that's how you'd introduce everyone. The source of all the freaking powers on Earth. What?
Then we get a Star Destroyer ship playing the American national anthem with Trump in the cockpit going, and now we're going to bring a wall.
Hey, you can say we can say what we want about Trump, but Trump was the closest thing we had to a real world Palpatine. I'm like, Palpatine you have one thing over Palpatine, Trump. I'll give you this. You got great hand gestures.
Hey, I just gotta. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. I'm only bring politics one. The only time news was entertaining was when Trump was in it. Now it's just boring.
Yeah, you don't know if the president's gonna fall over and take a nap.
Yeah.
Well, politics out the window. I threw it out the airlock. That topic.
Yeah.
All right. Damn, we've been at this for about 3 hours. I got a text saying I got some things I gotta start getting up to doing. But this has been, this was the longest chat I've had about Star Wars. That's not me playing the video game, but shit. If anything,
say, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. Just sitting down.
Yeah.
And, I don't think we ever at any point really just got into really hating on anything. We were just like, this was like the best kind of conversation to have. It's like where we acknowledge there are things that are dumb, but we laugh about it and we move on. And that's
the fun of a critical thinking conversation, which nobody wants to have nowadays.
Before the last thing I'll get off before we all send our send-offs for the stream. Keo, why don't you close it off with let Dylan hear, where do you stand on Anna? I just triggered his rage.
Anna, you can go bite yourself for reviewing cuties.
That Star Wars girl.
You can go destroy yourself for looking at and reviewing cuties. Go. Yeah,
she defended the movie Cuties, Netflix's Cuties. I can't believe it.
Is Anna that Star Wars girl? One YouTuber?
Yes. You bring shame to all you cosplay.
Well, no, there's Mecha Random 42, who is like basically she's the Karen of the fandom menace. I'm just gonna be straight. She's a Karen.
I picked up that.
To Anna, like I said, you might looks aren't everything, honey. You ain't got the brain to back it up. And you only got popular.
I remember.
And you only got popular. It's like I don't like bringing.
She benefited off her sister's death, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Passing. That's what we don't like about her either.
And she reviewed Cuties.
Yes. Oh,
was it a good review or a bad review?
I
only ask that because some people, like most people, obviously give it the bad review, but because obviously. But if she gave it like a good,
it's the closest thing to child pornography that freaking Netflix. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Now, if there's
but did she approve of it? Is that why you don't like her?
She watched the damn thing.
She watched it anyway. So it's just why would you watch it?
Well, I mean,
So
I guess I've just watched some people. They don't watch it obviously, but they still review it. Where it's just like I don't need to watch it because. Yeah. It's Cuties, and how dare you? Bad.
I just hate to say it. You don't need to watch it. Just look at the freaking trailer. That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
No, I saw the poster for it, like online. I was just like, nope.
All the back, nope. Get out of here.
That's a big, tall glass of nope.
But everyone here who's been watching, who's come and gone, oh crap, I just burped. Keo came in late, but this is Dylan's Blurry Films. I'm glad he was able to come. I know we tried to do this last week, but like I said, I got busy. But Keo knows I always like doing things like this, and it's always open for people to come here. So when it comes to, like, say, the next thing when it comes to Star Wars, or if they do something, if the Fandom Menace does something even more retarded, I will definitely bring everybody back on here for this, because
everybody pop a beer and enjoy your 4th of July.
Oh my God, yeah, because before I hit this end broadcast, and everybody go give Dylan a subscription. Keo's retired.
No, the Twitch archives exist.
Oh, the Twitch archives exist. Yeah. It says it right here. Your YouTube name's right there on your name for StreamYard. It's right there. Yeah, they'll be able to see it. It's right there.
Well, no, that's just the name I put under Magic.
No, I'm talking about for Dylan. He has his your YouTube name's like right there at the end of it. So
right
they'll be able to they'll be able to see it, which is a good thing. And I'm gonna close off with saying this. The next time I talk about the Fandom Menace, I'm going to be wrecking Mecha Random 42 after what she said, saying that this whole season of Obi-Wan was just Obi-Wan grooming Leia. I'm gonna leave it there.